Okay. So the one thing I guess I wanted to tell you is for the employment manual, we had our first, so I worked on the first draft. We all worked on it today. I'll make the changes we came up with, and then I'm going to send it to Lizzie, our attorney, and then bring it to you guys. So I think that's it for me.
I think you skipped approved minutes one.
Oh, I did that last time too. Sorry about that. Okay, so
Just excited.
okay. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2025 board?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I did my remarks and approve the agenda. So I have one change of order. So the AV discussion, that's G on the action items. I'd like to move to C before we talk about the roads. So we can have Bill lead if you would like to. Or not. That's what Bill can get out of here. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
I move to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Call to public. Anyone who would like to come and address the board,
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. We met. I'm the executive director of Webster Senior Center, and I saw that Webster Senior Center was on the agenda for a couple different items today. One, to assist in our public outreach efforts, and second, to recognize us as Senior Center of Record. And so I just wanted to thank you all for continuing to think of us. I can say that we are always thinking of Webster Township residents as well. The Senior Center of Record discussion was something that I've been paying attention to, just attending the different county commissioner meetings, and I will say it is sometimes confusing as to what exactly is going on or what they're asking us to accomplish, but I hadn't had the opportunity to reach out to discuss this with you, and so I was really just blown away when I saw it on the agenda, and it was just meant a lot to know that you guys are also paying attention and care about older adult issues as much as we do. And so I just wanted to thank you, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say today.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Phone
Mine?
no.
Oh, that one, I don't know. Okay.
I can check. Bill's got it.
Oh, okay. Comments of board members? Comments of board members? Okay.
I don't want to go.
Okay.
I'm always.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Larry Wheeler. I'm trying to get a driveway permit so that I can build my house on 7523 Webster Church Road. So that's about it.
They're requesting a hammerhead for fire trucks to turn around. I'm his neighbor, and I'm at the end of a shared driveway, and I have a turnaround on my property, which I'm more than happy to let a fire truck turn around, or any other vehicle that needs to turn around. So I just want you guys to know that's available to Larry, so maybe he can get his house up this year.
What's your name and address?
I'm Toby Pratt at 7565.
Thank you, Toby.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you. Any more? Again? All right.
It's hard to hear you.
Oh.
I'll try that. afternoon, sorry. Okay. Treasurer's report.
Oh, hold on,
Oh,
I have
sorry.
some comments, especially since it's here. When we talked a little bit about some more general planning or longer term planning, and so some of the updates, you know, we were joking last time, I haven't talked about roads, but some of the things to bring up, I've been in contact with Adam Lake, the road commission, and the culvert up on Walsh Road is more shape than originally anticipated. And so what Adam's been given the guidance in the next 2 to 3 years is when he was thinking that would be brought into play. So that's a $500K item for the township, give or take. But I've also, you know, other items that have come up over the course of the meetings. So the road, while we're on the roads topic, we've gone through all the planning, both on with a supplemental and no supplemental basis. And we talked about how the roads commission had said over 10 years we needed $4.7 million to, you know, treat the roads as is. That's where the village number came from. And here recently it went down into $3 million and change. So if you do the math on that, after all the roads are brought up to speed, that's where the difference comes in. But getting from where we're at today to the $3 million over 10 years or 300K level is that if you bring some of that money forward, you do 60 miles of road, you can save $200,000 over the course of 10 years. I have a big presentation on all this. The point is, though, where that gets to the long-term planning is that if we want to bring anything forward, you know, on a supplemental basis, it's roughly 150K for 2 years, each of 2 years. And then it starts dropping off after that. Or we could stay in, as we talked about before, as the schedule is exactly where you get in the village. That's where all that discussion that we had, whatever, 3 or 4 months ago, that's where all that played out. We hadn't done the work then. But we've also had from the firehouse, I hear a request that came from Mike, or from Doug, I guess, possibly for another 100K to put into the road.
Yes.
And over there. And then the building upgrades is on the order of 400, I've heard numbers along.
450 was our lowest bid.
So when are we gonna, so I'd like to have a handle on some of those bigger picture items, especially when we get to the millage discussion, which, what meeting will that be in? Is that the August or something?
It could either be August or we could do a special one if you want, just to work on that.
So I think numbers up at that level inform, or at least for me, inform my thinking as to how we want to then set millage schedules, not only for this year, but I'd like us to see us put a plan together for a vision millage schedule, at least in principle, say over a 5-year basis, knowing what these bigger costs are. Proof of thought.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. No treasurer's report.
Good evening. I want to start my comments by mentioning that the 2024 delinquent real property tax settlement distribution from Washtenaw County is expected to be dispersed to us sometime around the end of June. Our share of that distribution is $55,000, which will be subdivided into the various funds that it has to go to, safety, BDR, et cetera. The 2025 summer property tax bills have been prepared and sent to the printer. I've asked them to be delivered no later than June 30th in the hopes that we meet our July 1 obligation, counting on the post office. Amanda is building her proficiency as the deputy treasurer. She has participated directly in the establishment of the 2025 tax database, the detailed entry and review of the mortgage rate, the millage rates, as well as other tasks. And I would highlight that most of the elements of this month's treasurer's report, which are in your packet, were created by her, and I really appreciate Amanda. We are now, regarding the revenue and expenditures report, we're now 2 months into the fiscal year, between 16 and 17% of the year. I wanted to highlight a couple of things. One is, you may have noticed that the interest earned on our fund balances, in the general fund balance, as well as most of the rest of them, has dropped about 21% versus last year. So we should not count on as much interest revenue as we have enjoyed in the past. Further review of the expenditures report reveals that we need to make some budget amendments at the next regular board meeting. There are a few items that have been created as new line items based on some recent spending decisions made by this board, where we have expenditures against budgets of zero. Examples are the Parks and Rec expenditure and unbudgeted committee compensation. And I would like to say that given the things that are happening and not happening in the federal and state legislatures, I personally strongly recommend that Webster be more financially conservative than usual, at least for the time being. In my opinion, we should avoid or delay unnecessary spending until after the federal and state budgets and tax plans are adopted. We have no insight as to what those end products are going to be, and their impact on us could be very significant considering the vast majority of our revenue comes from the state of Michigan. I did, as authorized by this board last month, transfer $200,000 from the general fund to the capital improvement plan fund. And last but not least, the annual financial audit is nearly completed. And we should expect to receive the annual report, the audit report, at the July regular board meeting. At that time, you'll be receiving both written, I hope electronic, as well as a verbal presentation by the auditor. And those are the things I wanted to highlight. If you have any questions or comments on those or the elements of the report in your packet, I'm all ears.
I would move to accept the treasurer's report and pay the bills, as well as those anticipated bills received before our next meeting scheduled for July 15th, 2025.
Support.
Okay. Any
Discussion. So when is the state budget, are you expecting, how final numbers from that?
Well, I believe their scheduled deadline is July, but I don't believe anybody in Michigan thinks they're going to meet that deadline.
Expected
I can't even hazard a guess.
this year?
Well, they have to do it. The real hardship of delaying meeting the deadline is on the schools, because the schools need to know what their budgets are before they open for business in late August, early September.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. We'll start with Shelley.
Aye.
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 Okay. All.
Thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda reports. So, if there's anything else anyone wants to pull out of this, please let me know. The one thing, we have the sheriff representatives to try to kind of help us. I asked them to come and kind of tell us about the new billing system and
We're reporting this as well.
yeah, so your report. Good evening, everybody. My name's
I'm Al Hunt. I'm the West Ops lieutenant for one more day. So unfortunately,
Welcome back, Al.
yeah, I know. So sorry, it's been a while since I've been here. But the fact of the matter is, I do retire tomorrow night. So we have a new lieutenant for West Ops. Unfortunately, he's on vacation this week and couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to be here but couldn't be here. So I brought him by the other day to meet with Mike. So he'll hopefully be much more present than I have been with some of the meetings. I also have Sergeant Hogan with me. Sergeant Hogan is actually our fill-in sergeant right now because the Dexter collaboration, which you guys are a part of, has a dedicated sergeant assigned to it. However, that sergeant was Sergeant Krings for the last couple of years, and he was promoted to captain with the new administration. So he is now our captain, so he's very familiar with the issues that go on in the Dexter area, so that's good for you guys. As well as the new commander is Gary Lowe, who some of you guys may know. And Gary was a longtime deputy in the area. Up until last year, he was out here handling your complaints and calls for service. So he's extremely familiar with the day-to-day operations of the collaboration. He's now the commander. Michael is actually currently in the position of sergeant for the Dexter collaboration temporarily until we get we complete a process, because we have to have a process, because it's a 3-year assigned position according to our union contract. And so as soon as we complete that process, we'll see who the final person is. Michael's one of the 2 people that are in that process. So hopefully July we'll have that finished out, and then we'll know for sure. But he's been filling in here for a little bit and doing a great job for us. So just so you know where we're at with kind of staffing, and it's kind of a shuffle right now. But as far as the new building process, is there a specific question you want to start with, or do you want me to give an overview of the old building versus the new building, or do you want to just get right into the new building?
Maybe a little overview of the old one.
So the old process, what they would do, the Dexter collaboration contracts for 8 deputies. So those 8 deputies are assigned throughout the collaboration between the 2 townships in the city. And what they would do is the sheriff's office would bill you for those 8, they call it a PSU, every month. And then, however, because of our staffing levels, which have been short and they're still short, they're working very hard to kind of bring those staffing levels up. We were only providing 5 to 6 deputies at a given time that were dedicated to the contract. There's always minimum staffing levels that we will meet through overtime no matter what. And within the contract, there's certain hours, and again, this gets very complicated, which is why they wanted to change it. Because even the new administration wrapping their head around this was a nightmare, I think. And so within the contract, certain overtime requirements were considered billable to the contract partners. Other overtime is non-billable to the contract partners. So if it's non-billable, the sheriff's office pays for it. If it's billable overtime, the contract partner would pay for it. So for example, in the billable versus non-billable will remain the same, the old version versus new version, but just how we deal with that overtime is going to be very different. And so, for example, if a contract area deputy is on vacation, the first 2 weeks of that vacation are considered billable overtime to the contracting partner. Anything after 2 weeks is non-billable, so the sheriff's office then would eat that. So say if somebody goes off on maternity leave or something like that, first 2 weeks for like that kind of medical leave or FMLA, the contracting partner would pay for the first 2 weeks of overtime, then we'd have to backfill that position if we had to backfill that position to get the minimum staff. Then anything after that is non-billable. So anyway, there's this whole big long sheet of what's billable, what's non-billable. That's going to remain the same. So, but in the past, because we were charging you for 8, providing you 6, and then filling overtime, anything that was not getting filled was going into what we call banked hours. So I kept a spreadsheet which tracked every single hour that we owed you guys, because you were paying for 8 bodies of service, you're getting 6 hours of service, or 6 bodies of service, or potentially even 5 at times when we had different vacancies going on. And so I would keep track of the banked hours, and then the way we would utilize those banked hours was we would either, say you had a special event, say we wanted somebody to come up and do a traffic detail or do something fair or something like that, as opposed to charging you for that body. We would just pull it out of the banked hours, have somebody come up, pull it out of the banked hours, use it that way. Or for any billable hours that you would incur, and this is where you guys got a bunch of benefit, I believe, is any billable hour that you would otherwise have to pay for that overtime, we would just convert that and pull it out of the banked hours and not charge you for it. And so there's a big long spreadsheet that's kind of keeping track of this, and the goal is always to try to zero it out at the end of the year. Now, did that always happen? No, especially this last year, I can't remember. I've got like 7 different contracts in my brain, so I know I got most of them to 0, but I didn't get all of them to 0 just because it was impossible with the number of bodies that we had gone during that time. And so if that was the case, then what we did is we cut you a check at the end of the year. Did you guys get a check? I can't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got a check because I couldn't get you to 0. And so you then got reimbursed for those hours that you paid for that we could not provide you service. So that's the old model.
Okay.
And everybody agrees that's complicated, correct? And that's the simple version. That's the simple, like, editor's choice kind of version of how the old billing system works. So the new billing system, they're calling it like a true billing system. If we're only providing you 6 bodies right now, then we're only going to bill you each month for those 6 bodies. However, any overtime that's billable, you're going to get a bill for that overtime. If it's not billable, again, it goes to the sheriff's office, and then we eat that overtime.
I had one question about that, because I know part of the old way, like when I was gonna ask you today, actually, but I was sending you an email about our fall festivals and having someone come.
Right.
Do we need to sign new contracts for those things, or are they encompassed in the big one?
It is not encompassed. So if you just need somebody to kind of stop in and check in from time to time, we can kind of arrange that. And again, that's more of a discussion per kind of incident or event.
Yeah.
But for like that, if you just wanted somebody to stop in and check on it, we can make sure that the deputies that are working during that time frame are stopping in from time to time, as long as they're not otherwise engaged. That'll cost you nothing. If you want to have somebody there dedicated, the new model is you would have to do a special contract.
Okay. And you have those somewhere?
Yeah, and so you just contact the, either John or Mike, and then he can get with Teresa, the billing person, and then get it approved to the commander, which is not a problem for this. And then they would set up, hey, we need a body, or this many bodies for this many hours. And then there's a different rate for contract partners for what we would charge like non-contract partners. So say if a trucking company they need to have police escort through the township or something like that, they'll call us and we'll charge them, but it's at a pretty significant rate. Whereas when we're billing you for any kind of special contracts like that, it's gonna be a significantly discounted rate.
Okay.
So. Question?
You work 8-hour shifts?
Yes and no. So half the county works 12-hour shifts, half the county works 8-hour shifts. Our deputies here in our collaboration do work 8-hour shifts. So they're working 8 to 4, 4 p.m. to midnight, midnight to 8 a.m. However, the sergeants are on a 12-hour shift schedule. So they're working 7 p to 7 a. So it's not a clean yes and no answer to that. So.
Oh, when we contract, we're contracting for deputies, right?
Correct, yes. And so the sergeant is automatically, you guys aren't paying for the sergeant, he's built into the contracting TSU pricing.
And for as long as I've been on this board, there's always been an abundance of openings in the sheriff's department. I wonder if you could, especially since you're close to your end of your tenure, maybe you could be a little more candid than you might otherwise be. Do you have some thoughts about our ability to attract and retain going forward and get those vacancy numbers down?
There are a number of challenges that have affected that over the years. Number one is our pay, especially new people looking to come into law enforcement. Our starting pay, or even if you, like our top pay, like if you look at Ann Arbor's pay scale, their road patrol officers are making more than I am as a lieutenant. They make significantly more money than we do. And people look at that starting number when they're coming into the career as a young person, and that's a huge factor when there's like a $20,000 discrepancy or even $30,000 discrepancy between your pay scales. But when you add in all of our benefits in the end, like where I'm at, then it's like, oh, our pension is much better, and in the end, all these things, they don't necessarily equal out, but it's much closer. So there's more parity there if you're thinking global scale. However, trying to convince a 20-year-old kid going into law enforcement, I can get paid this much or this much, I'm going to go with that much. And so we've been fighting that for years, because part of it is we protected our health care. For many, many years, we had top-tier health care with the sheriff's office. And then when the state government and federal government made some changes with health care requirements to local governments and said, Cadillac plans, we're going to start penalizing you. We protected our health care by not taking raises for years. And then when that happened, now we suddenly went down to a mid-tier health care package, but we didn't get that money back. We had kind of protected in our union negotiations over many years. So that affected us for a long period of time there. And so there's that aspect of it. Then there was the cultural aspect of it, with the whole, George Floyd incident and all those kind of things, with people not being supportive of law enforcement in many communities. And so there's that cultural aspect I think has hurt law enforcement recruiting. It used to be that, because I used to police academy, you would have hundreds of recruits applying for a single job. Now you have hundreds of jobs looking for a single recruit. Every recruit is sponsored at the academy, pretty much. A couple will put themselves through, and they will get picked up by some agency sometime during the academy, almost without fail, unless there's something really wrong in their background. So there's the cultural aspect of it, there's the financial piece for us, and then also I think our old process with the last administration was also extremely long. So the downside was it took people an extremely long time to get through our process because they were horrifically thorough and they took their pride in our background investigations better than what the FBI does. We are going to find everything and anything to make sure that there's no issues here, X, Y, and Z. And so it took a long time to process people through our HR and all that. So that was a big problem. So with the new administration, the one thing that they are doing much better, when Under Sheriff Harshberger came in, coming from Pittsfield Township had a pretty good streamlined track record of bringing new hires in. And so what they've done is, with the new administration, they've started modeling our hiring practices after what Pittsfield did, doing various things to try to get their hooks into people a little bit quicker and sooner, speeding up the process. So that is bringing in more people, especially the jail is getting significantly more people, which is a big deal overall. But the road patrol, again, there's a few more hoops people have to jump through in order to get to road patrol versus a corrections position. But they are speeding up that process, and they are working very diligently on getting people. Currently, we have 3 that we sponsored in the academy. We picked up at least 1, maybe a second person of the 2 or 3 people that are actually not sponsored in the police academy right now at Washington. We have 2 to 3 or maybe even 4 scheduled to start in July for the Schoolcraft Academy. So they're working very hard to get people through. But again, it takes from the academy time to the time they actually hit the road and they're on solo patrol, that's a year-long process minimum. So it's not a quick, speedy fix. It's really hard to find lateral transfers, especially when our pay is what our pay is. So does that answer some of your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you. One last question. What can we do as board members and as public to help you guys?
When we're in a negotiation phase, pressure your board of commissioners to pay us more. If they want, if
When
they
is
want
that?
to be competitive. You know when the next contract is?
Keeps getting delayed.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I'm just looking forward to tomorrow. To be honest. Being very frank.
Thank you very much, Alan.
When we're looking at the bill, or we were looking at the bill, the old one, it always had like, and I probably have the terminology wrong, in district, out of district.
Yes.
And it seemed like out of district was significantly more than in.
So
Can you explain what those are?
So what that is basically, especially the way we did this was a little bit misleading in a certain aspect because it was just only tracking sheriff's office into and out of area time for the contracting entities. So because you neighbor Scioto Township, which is also a contracting partner with us, and they've got generally 2 deputies on most of the time. You guys have 1 to 2 deputies on most of the time. That's not many bodies, especially when and there are times when it's just 1. There's certain days of the week, there's only 1 in Scioto, certain times and days in Dexter where there's only 1 working for all those areas. And so between that, when something happens, we have to back each other up. So it's just to be safe, just to get things done properly, you have to be able to go back and forth. And so the into and out of area time is a way to track how much time are the deputies spending in the direct contract area versus another contract area. And so certain municipalities are very concerned about that, especially if you have kind of more of a bean counter mentality, and not for treasurers and people who like numbers.
It's no problem.
Not to say that's a bad thing, because it's super important, but at the same time, our focus can't be the number, it has to be what's the safest way to keep the public safe, what's the best way to keep our deputies safe, so that they're not ending up in a dangerous situation. So that's where they're coming in and out of the area to help each other out. And I don't remember the exact numbers, how they ended up for you guys for the year.
I don't remember the exact ones either. I just remember looking at it and it seemed like out of district or out of area was a lot more than here.
Yeah.
I mean, substantially, like 80% more.
I don't know if it's that high. But now, if you were looking at like just Webster Township, well, again, the out of area time would be the whole collaboration. So,
That was my
but
next
there's But there's the into area type. So if you just look into Dexter, or into Webster, which I broke it down on the previous reports, we broke it into the city, into Dexter Township, into Webster Township, and then a total for the collaboration. I think if you look at the collaboration number versus out of the collaboration and into the collaboration, it's much more even. It's not even by any means, but it's much more even than if you were to just look at like into Webster time versus the out of area time. That's going to be extremely, it's going to tell you a whole different story.
So in the district, and when we're talking about district, I think you just touched on it. The district for us would have been Dexter Township, Webster Township, and Dexter
Correct.
City, correct?
Yes. That's what we call it, a collaboration. Collaboration is the whole group together.
And so in is somebody else coming in from like SIO or what?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So somebody comes, but it doesn't track when Northfield comes down and helps us. It doesn't track when the state police come over and help us. It doesn't track when command is helping us. So
Right.
it gives you a number, it gives you an idea, but it gives you the number, because again, it was that very clear PSU unit model of like the banked hours, billable time, and all that. So I think the last administration wanted to say, this is what you're paying for, and again, from kind of that accountant kind of numbers matter the most, here's the numbers, if that makes sense.
Is there any way we could get a cheat sheet on what those mean? Because I've looked at those for a long time,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, but that
what
goes
exactly
away.
are these?
Well, the into and out of area time is still there. It's still tracked on the report. It is actually kind of broken down even in the new report. If you look, it'll actually tell you which townships your people are spending time in, both the out of area and into. So like there was 15 minutes into Ann Arbor Township. There was 30 minutes into Freedom Township from one of the Dexter collaboration groups. So it kind of breaks all that specifically down as to where they were going. And there, if there were some major concerns, we can always look at what's the exact incident, why were they going there, what was the reason for it, and we try to limit it as much as possible. But again, looking at the staffing levels that we have out here, we just have to be safe. Safety has to be priority number one for everything.
So we were contracted in the old system for 8 deputies, and we ended up with 5 or 6. I'm assuming that was because of manpower limitations?
Correct, yes. You still are contracting for that many, but now we're not charging you for the full number. We're only charging you for what we're providing you right now that month.
So if we're at 5 or 6, so will we estimate we're going to have overtime for another full 2 deputies?
Yes. Well, no, not necessarily, because your minimum staffing is 1 from midnight till 8 a.m., or actually, and then it's what afternoon shift is. Noons is 2, so the afternoon shift is 2 between Labor Day and Memorial Day to Labor Day.
My question is actually more general. You're anticipating needing a bunch of overtime.
There will be overtime, yes.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. So if manpower increases, at some
Then
point,
that will reduce.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
So significantly.
Got it, thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Thanks a lot.
Any other questions about anything? Anything at all over here since you got me?
I'll just introduce myself real quick.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Al did a good job introducing me. My name's Michael Hogan. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 10 years. I spent most of my career out on the east side, but I've been here since around March. One thing I'll touch on with staffing, in my 10 years since I started, there's been mass retirements. We've lost probably 30 to 40%, maybe even more, of a lot of our senior staff. And it seems like we're starting to kind of catch up. If you look at some of the deputies working on the west side now, they're shockingly young, which is a good thing because they're not necessarily going anywhere. So hopefully we're starting to get caught up on our staffing.
Most people that used to come out here who worked in this collaboration when they bid for their positions were senior people. And like Mike is saying, it's a lot of young people, which is, it's got its benefits and its downsides. They don't have as much experience, but they've got a lot more enthusiasm. They're more apt to get their claws into things and really dig hard and find stuff.
Yeah, the comment would be stop by, come to the meetings, get to know everybody, and the public.
I'll leave a handful of my business cards on the table before we leave.
Great.
I work day shift, 12 hours, rotating days. If you need anything, I'm obviously West Side Command. Just feel free to reach out, email, or my cell phone's on there as well.
So you work 3 days a week?
I work every other weekend Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 A to 7 P. And then after that 3 days, so if I work the weekend, then I'll have Monday, Tuesday off. I'm also on our SWAT team, so like tomorrow's supposed to be my lead day, but I have sniper training. So my only day off this week is Thursday. I'm in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. I work, well, we go to Grayling. But then generally I work Wednesday, Thursday, and it rotates every other weekend.
So the sergeant schedule being 12s, you've got Mike is your dedicated sergeant to the Dexter collaboration. They're on the opposite shift that he's on, so that we've got 100% coverage on day shift, is Sergeant Gebauer, who's the Manchester collaboration sergeant. And so when he's not around as the West Operations Command, taking care of all West operations, even though he's dedicated to Dexter, then Sergeant Gebauer basically is covering those opposite days when he is off. Or it's being covered on overtime when he's on training or otherwise tied up. So, does that kind of help give you a little more clarification? But he's like 3 days will be here, and then 4 days will be here the next week, and then it bounces back and forth.
Longer you talk, the more questions I have. I think you should say goodnight.
The sheriff's office is a complicated animal. So,
Enjoy
Great
your
meeting you
time.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Well, thank you.
Enjoy your retirement.
Appreciate it. Congratulations.
All right, so there's nothing else to pull out. A motion.
I would like to chat just for a minute about what I did last week for the fire, on behalf of the fire department, if that's okay.
Okay.
So I spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was invited to join 4 of our department members to do what they call the final inspection on the pumper fire truck that we're going to receive, take delivery on next month. And I just want to say it was a really eye-opening experience. I have a lot better understanding of why a fire truck costs $1 million. I think we're going to get a very nice truck. It will be leaving, we did a punch list on the truck. Every truck is custom made. No 2 trucks are the same. Our purpose was to develop a punch list. After the inspection we did, we had 23 items in the punch list, and the manufacturer was happy at how short the list was. And they're working on that list now, and then the truck will be driven from South Dakota to Grayling, where they will do the finishing touches on the truck, and then we'll receive it. But, fascinating experience. We're going to have a nice truck when we get it, and just wanted to let you know.
It's going to be here. Really.
I don't know where the chief will station it. It is a tanker. It's got a capacity of about 2,500 gallons, which is of more use, in my opinion, in the townships, whether it's Dexter Township Station 2 or Webster Township Station 3, with hydrants in the city. So it's less important to be in the city, but I don't know where.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve or receive and file the consent agenda items having pulled out the sheriff report.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay. Aye. Sorry. All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
All opposed? It's been a long day. Guys, all right. Okay, so the first action item is the resolution. So there's 3 resolutions that are in the packet. Underlying all this is, so the 3, Historical Society, WAVE, and the Senior Center are basically, we help fund them, and we would like to get more participation from Webster residents, which kind of entails getting the word out. And so these resolutions are designed to allow us to, like say if we have the AV, stuff or put stuff on our website, just basically help them advertise their services. So that's what the 25, 24, 25, 25, and 25, 26. So,
Can somebody help me which page number in the packet?
73, and 75, and 77. And then
Do we have to do resolutions?
Guess we could do them all, no one has them at the same time.
Yeah, I'm in support of all, whatever's easiest.
Yeah, it's a little easier. So any questions, discussions?
Are you gonna do it?
Oh, yeah, I would move to pass resolution number 25, 24, 25, 25, and 25, 26.
Second?
More discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry,
You have to do a
roll call. All right, so, yeah.
Aye.
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 Okay. So the next, the next resolution is 2521, and John can explain it.
I would like to offer resolution 2521.
I'll support.
Any discussion? Okay.
This basically is officially acknowledging that the Dexter Senior Center is the senior center of record for Webster Township. I think this is important in particular because the Washington County Board of Commissioners has not officially voted on which senior centers are going to be accepted as senior centers that receive money from the Older Person Services Village. The Dexter Senior Center is on the current draft of the list, but this helps support that they belong on that list.
So roll call vote for this.
Aye.
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 Okay.
I would request that we send a copy of this resolution to every member of the County Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so this is the moved item. So it's old item G, now new item C. So AV system proposal. So the last month, you guys had asked me to look into the microphone situation. We did, I'll let Bill do this part.
I wonder if we could get some page number assistance again.
171.
Thank you, Dan.
So last month we had a discussion about the microphones, and it was stated that the current system that we have only is able to accommodate 8 microphones. We wanted to bump that number up to 12 with an additional 4. We received a quote about a week and a half ago from IBSCom on that system upgrade and 4 more microphones. Treasurer Sharp and some people in the office decided to go ahead with that. I got an email last Friday from IBSCom saying that they were waiting on a couple more components. I think a splitter. That should be in next week. It should be installed next week. We have chartered Nicholson here from IBSCom for the board for any questions on the proposal and the microphones. So that's good. Hopefully by next board meeting, we should have that system in place. So that is part A, that's good on that. The AV proposal, if you remember, that came to you, had two different quotes. The first one was $14,737 and 42 cents. That was for the 3 boards, the rolling cart, the cables, the display, mounting, installation. Then there was a separate number, $17,974 and 25 cents, if we wanted to upgrade to a touch monitor, a touch board on the cart. And I believe that this body was okay with the quotes, and then there was some discussion. And so tonight, we're asking to make a decision on which one that we want and to move forward. And like I said, Charlie is here with any questions and anything that he doesn't know, he can go back to Mark and get.
I already asked one of them for you.
Okay, yeah.
If it comes up.
Okay, so,
Thanks.
yeah.
I'm always good for a question. So walk me through it on the second page, so all this Dell listings, that's for something
Yeah.
touchscreen?
So the second page, once again, is the touch screen. The 2 items that you see on the second page that you don't, on the first are,
Items 5 and 6, right?
yeah, the touch screen requires a little computer on it. So those 2 items, the Dell form factor and the Dell Duo Visa mount bracket comes with that.
And what exact functionality is this giving us, or do we need it?
So when we have the cart with the screen, anybody who's doing a presentation can come up and move it around with your finger.
Oh.
And so the board can say, do you want to spend $3,200 roughly to do that, or do we not need something like that?
Okay. Can you, I'm sorry, can you explain who is moving their finger on the screen?
Anybody that's doing the presentation,
It's their presentation?
Sri or myself or anyone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Applicants.
yeah.
Otherwise, we're back to the more traditional methods.
Correct. And I personally, I thought for the money that it would be helpful, you know.
Can you help me? I see that 5 and 6 are the difference, right?
Yeah.
If I look at 5 and 6 add up to 1133,
Mhm.
and that doesn't account for the difference?
Number one.
Number 1 is the big difference.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with those recommendations, I think.
So,
And
again,
then the last thing that I would say that I think the board should contemplate a little bit is the timing of this. And what I mean by that is that I think that they can go ahead and do some of the installations and get the boards up, but we have a building renovation going on that requires an IT closet. And some of these components, Charlie can speak to this a little bit more, may need to utilize that closet. So the timing, I think it makes sense to kind of do it all together. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, just briefly, I did go ahead and ask that question anticipating it, and the answer I got was that they're really more independent than what I was thinking. So Mark, who understands that system, that's not my specialty, but I was the guy that could be here tonight, said that there would really be no reason to not proceed with the video system. That the impact, what little there might be, if any, by putting that in there later is minimal, if anything.
Okay, strike that.
Yeah.
Shelley, are you good with this? I know you were involved in the AV topic in the past.
I like the idea of touchscreen because of the usability of it, but I'm also a little bit nervous about touchscreen. It's like, you know, if we're not really going to use it that much, then we might not want to get it. It just seems like it would be really easy to break. And then we pay, especially if some of the discussion we had was that we would maybe let outside groups potentially use this. I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous about it. If we are going to make good use of it, then it's worth the money, but if it's not, it has a little bit extra risk to it.
Bill, have you used it in your life over?
No, I haven't.
Anybody? Has anybody used? I have not.
I mean, I use a touch screen pretty regularly, but I guess not in a big, you know, not a big touch screen.
So I'm wondering where this fits into the budget. We have $20,000 in the budget for computer equipment and hardware. We don't really have another category that's like this.
This would seem to me to be more of a capital improvement, John. I mean, we're revamping our whole AV system. It wasn't.
It's all. He's got your closer.
Yeah, that's what I would, rather than in computer hardware and software, it would go more in capital improvement along with the renovation. To me, that's where it belongs because we're sort of changing it all up. But I don't know.
So on capital improvements, we have construction in progress, 200,000, parking lot and grounds, 65,000, road maintenance for repair, 166,000. That's it. It doesn't fit into any of those categories.
Like, I feel like you did put this into the budget somewhere, and it wasn't in
Capital improvements, it wasn't?
oh, well, no, I don't know if it was in capital improvements, but it wasn't in the IT section. It's
It's definitely not in capital improvement now. That doesn't mean it couldn't be.
I feel like you did a lot, like 20 grand for this, because the other 20 grand is for laptops, right?
Yeah, we have to replace so many computers because of the Microsoft upgrade.
So there was a $10,000 one for the computers, and then this
Maybe
one's
that's
extra.
what it was. Maybe you budgeted 10 for computers and 10 for this. That might be what it was.
Computer equipment and hardware was 10,000 last year, 20,000 this year. We haven't spent any.
So we've got, we just ordered 2 new machines, and we kind of split the line item. So around 3,200 for the hardware for the 2 machines. We've got 3 more coming, so that should be around another 5. So about 8.5, which leaves 12 out of the 20.
And if we go with the first choice, we're not so far off. I guess I'm just kind of having a hard time envisioning how I'd use a touch screen.
So the way that we were using it over in Webster Township was the presenter or the planning commissioner or whoever the chair would have a laptop and they were controlling it by that. Sometimes we would have taxpayers or the owner come up to be able to show the board something on a map or something like that. And then it was nice for them to be able to point and move that around and zoom in a little bit.
What size is the touchscreen? It's big.
75 inches, I think. It was. Yeah, 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want. I'll move that we go for the touchscreen. So I'll move that we put forth the UTEC proposal for the amount of $17,974.20.
I will support.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay.
I think we should wait, based on my comments in my treasurer's report, not knowing what the future brings.
I think that's a very valid point, John. And, you know, I mentioned having concerns about our revenue sharing this coming year at a meeting several months ago. But certainly, we do have reserves that we can pull, you know, $10,000 from, 15, 17, whatever it is, to fund this. And this is really a need that we've had for some time, and need to upgrade and improve our system.
Yeah, that's actually my comments originally at the board meeting. I think it's well informed. I outlined over $1 million worth of big ticket things that are coming up in the next couple of years. Is that those are the ones I'd like to see us focus on as opposed to getting tied up on a couple K here or there, especially given where our balances are, you know, with second and so.
I also want to say this is an access issue. That's why we started this. People can't hear us. People can't participate in the way that we should be, they should be able to participate. So they can't hear us. I'm not using the money. And so I think it's not a huge lift to do this to make it more accessible.
To be clear, this doesn't have audio. We're staying with the audio that we have. This is for video.
No, I thought we were moving 4 mics. We were going to also do.
Oh yeah, we already
did that.
We already did that.
But
That's
this
not
is
in
also, this allows people to be able to log in from home and watch and participate in the meetings that way. So.
This does include the one in the lobby too, correct, for postings and stuff?
Correct.
This is way overdue.
Okay. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
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 Okay. So now we go to,
Is it 81?
Yeah, the PDF.
It's page 81.
Okay, thank you.
okay. So now we are on new item D, moratorium/suspension of private road ordinance. 3. I guess I'll start with.
I thought that was a discussion item. Is it an action item?
No, that's an action item.
Maybe I was misunderstanding. I thought it was moved to a discussion item. I didn't introduce the topic, so I think you got the good. I think you should probably introduce it. I only provided memo to provide context on what moratoriums are typically used for, whether the pros and cons, and how it would apply in this particular, how it wouldn't apply in this particular situation. But I think I defer to you to provide some context as why it came to the issue.
Okay, so I had been asked whether one of the possible things we could do while we keep working on the road ordinance is to kind of suspend what we have and basically allow people to start building on, I mean, there's a couple different ways we could do it. We could say if you have an existing lot versus splits, or, so with that inquiry, that's why I asked Sri to look it up basically and to talk to Matt about our options for it.
What page is Sri's report?
81. 81.
Thank you.
Well, Sri's report's hardly a rain endorsement.
Nope.
right? So, and the point she makes, I agree with. I think in front of us is to get this private roads thing done, as opposed to, so does it make me feel better that we're gonna put a moratorium on it and all the requirements we have for public safety and other things with respect to fire. We're just talking about the millions we spent on fire in 10 years. Not inclined to, due to scheduling problems we've had, to redeem all that. I still think we have scheduling pressure to get this private roads question resolved.
Well, and I bring up because Jeff and Fran and Tree and some of our fire department, including the chiefs, have basically been working on this. What, June 5th was your meeting? I think I saw for that.
Yeah, I
So,
have a question about that. Sri's first bullet point in her plan of recommendation says, the township board has given direction. I don't recall like having a motion where we gave direction and taken a vote. We've, at almost every meeting, the topic of possibly sending this to the planning commission has come up again and again. We've never actually voted on it. And then I read about this focus team, and I don't know how that got formed, or who picked who was on that team, and what is their charter.
well,
I'm struggling with understanding what is happening.
well, the focus team was because we talked last month about the road committee kind of doing at least background about like what the actual problem is and how bad some of these are, or good, how good some of these are. So I think that's how that got started. Because they're both on the road committee.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to do a brief out. We can. Jeff and I can on that meeting. We can do that now if you want.
How did the twin get formed?
I can probably, Mike, if I may. I've been working on the ordinance language with fire chief and engineer and Ed for quite a bit. And when we initially kick-started the process, Jeff was also involved in development of the language, like a year and a half ago when we first started it. So it's not, I don't think it is an official review team that needs a motion to be made to, that was something I reached out to members who have been very proactive in providing their input regarding the amendment, in addition to, the actual team I've been working on. So it was kind of, I reached out for help just to get a second opinion. So I reached out to Jeff because he was part of the original. And then I reached out to Brad because he was part of the road committee and they had done extensive research and site visits of the private roads in the township. So he comes with that knowledge. And Ed and Doug have always been on the team, fire people. And then I reached out to Paul Zaluka because he was instrumental in the development of the zoning ordinance in 2011, and he shared his comments at the meeting regarding the shared driveway and frontage and his perspective. So that was not an official subcommittee or anything that has been formed. It's just I reached out for assistance to develop the language. And then with regards to my original comment when I said the township board has given direction, yes, John's correct. There was no formal motion made, but at the last meeting, when we were talking next steps, I indicated that this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back, work on a draft amendment, and bring you language back at the next meeting.
Yeah, John, we remember all the discussion on shared drives, private roads, minor and major, and we gave her the direction. I thought we gave like at least more comment that it was much easier if we shift to shared driveways with 3 or less than private roads.
And then as far as the sending things to the planning commission, so part of that, I guess would be my fault. I had asked in the meeting whether anyone was interested in sending it to the planning commission, and I didn't really, at that time, didn't really hear any interest.
Well, I said no twice. It's come up in
Yeah,
several
yeah, you
meetings.
did, yeah.
And we had several of them.
I think also, to be technically, you would need a motion to send something to the planning commission. You don't need a motion not to send, because not to send is It's nothing. But if you have to send, then you need an official motion to send it to the planning commission.
We examined other example ordinances, and the one that you highlighted as a good ordinance governs driveways and private roads into the zoning ordinance. We have historically governed driveways in the zoning ordinance and private roads in the private road ordinance. So you can split it, you don't have to split it. I personally believe, I feel strongly that driveways should be governed by the zoning ordinance. And I think private roads should be governed by the private road ordinance.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, a driveway for a single house could be a zoning ordinance, but as soon as you go to share multiple homes on something, it turns into a fire marshal. In my mind, which is public safety in general law. And I think that deserves its own standalone document. That's what we talked about. Jeff can jump in. We're going to rename it the shared driveway and private road ordinance collective. It was the suggestion from the breakout.
From Brad.
But if I understand right now, right here, this is just to clarify or provide guidance about the idea that somewhere along the line, somebody asked if we could put a moratorium while we work more on the ordinance, and it seems to me like it's not legally a great idea. It opens us up if we put a moratorium on it while we work it out.
And honestly, I mean, in my opinion, the private road ordinance as it stands right now, as far as new private roads going in, is fine. I mean, the language I think is good when you have somebody that's developing and is going to have it come in and put 6, 8 lots or whatnot. That language is good. The sticking point that we've come to is essentially shared driveways, which would have been shared driveways or technically private roads now.
Yeah, or split.
The only reason we have a problem with shared driveways in this township is because zoning administrators in the past allowed people to add 4th and 5th and 6th houses on a driveway. The zoning ordinance never allowed it, but we didn't administer the zoning ordinance properly.
I understand how we got into this situation.
There was nothing wrong with the zoning ordinance.
The zoning ordinance talks about frontage on a private road or a public road.
That's a new development.
That has been there since they had that language for the zoning since, what, 2011, I think.
That's a public safety construct.
That's where the sticking point is coming in. Plus, I mean, we've got private roads that did not meet the criteria or have not been upkept for ever how long, and people want to build in those empty lots. Obviously, there's been some extension of private roads or private drives that have been a problem.
That's it. Okay, yes.
Not related to the moratorium.
Correct. Look like you're ready to say something.
Okay, so, is there anyone who would like to make a motion either to do the moratorium, or as John, because we have not done this officially yet, to send anything to the planning commission?
I'm sorry, I have to raise my hand. The options are whether to consider doing a moratorium or to not consider a moratorium, because the board doesn't have not even close to enough information to do a moratorium. Because for you to be able to do a moratorium, you need to have an alternate ordinance in place and advice from the council in place. You have nothing.
Okay.
You don't have any. Right, it is to whether to consider. No.
I don't think we're in a spot to do a moratorium anyways. I don't think, I mean, if you wanted to talk about a suspension of it, a specific suspension via getting rid of it for existing roads for some of these lots so those people could build it, holding it at existing. You know, if you've got whatever's existing today or was on those original private roads, if they haven't been developed and somebody comes to build on it, do that, but no, as far as the moratorium.
even to do that specific, that's a good idea, but the timing is little off. In the sense, even to do that specific, you need to have an alternate ordinance in place. And then we have made some, I mean, the board has considered discussed the same issue in multiple perspectives, multiple times as how to deal with the existing situation. So given that where the board is right now, it is my recommendation is to focus on getting the amendment through faster rather than trying to take a detour and then try to work an alternate temporary amendment to do a moratorium and then come back and do the moratorium. We're just adding more work to ourselves.
Yeah, here.
That's just my 2 cents.
Here. Okay.
All right. So hearing no motions, we will move on. Okay. So now, it looks like we have 3, so this would be, sorry, new action item E. And Sri, if you would like to explain all these.
I think we have 3 requests that are related to private roads in front of you. The discussion and the motion has to happen one at a time. So the first one that is for your consideration is Velvet Ridge. This is a good example and a nice segue from what Jeff mentioned before. The current ordinance is good for new roads, and Velvet Ridge is a new construction. The applicant, Scott, is here with his representative, Paul. They are trying to split their existing property into 8 lots, and which requires construction of a new private road to meet the frontage and access requirements. The current ordinance does take it in a 2-step approach to looking at the private roads. The first step is the application comes to you, you will look at it and say, do you have enough information for you to review, is this complete? And more than it is complete, you are asked to say, whose reviews do you want? The typical reviews are zoning administrator, township engineer, and fire. Are there any other reviews you would like in this situation? And then they'll come back to you at the next meeting. At that point, you have to make a decision whether to approve the permit or not approve the permit. With that, I think I have Paul. Do you want to add anything?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Kissinger of Kissinger Design. I'm a landscape architect working for Scott Berquist. When we went through this process, we've had a number of meetings with Sri and looking at the 75 acres on Mass Road in Walsh. And we actually worked with the fire marshal already, so we've met all the requirements with the roundabouts. And so we don't need any hammerheads. We have an access off of Mass that comes in west. There's a roundabout that meets the requirements, and it comes down south. There's another roundabout, so there's 8 lots with a 9th lot, which is we're working with Barry Lonnie for hopefully a conservation easement. So we're trying to do rural residential. It meets all the code requirements for the zoning requirements for rural residential and street frontage. And we're hoping we have one little minor thing that we're working with the road commission. So we've submitted our permit already. Our civil engineer is working with them about a culvert or not. I think we're trying to convince them that water does not go uphill. So we're working through that right now. We expect to have, it's been submitted for 2 months. We expect to have that, any day now. So we would have it, prior to the next meeting. And if any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Now, I looked at all this, I thought it was well done.
Then let me know.
Well done.
So you want me to make a motion? Yes. Okay.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
Well, don't we have to move it first and then discussion?
Either way.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Paul, you mentioned conservation easement.
Yes.
Where is that being contemplated?
That is parcel 9, which is the 42.732 acres.
So that entire 42 would be under conservation easement?
Yes, it would. Yeah.
Sorry?
They're contemplating PDR.
Yeah.
Ah, that's different than conservation easement.
Well, we're requesting a conservation easement.
They're
We're
still-
requesting-
They're working, that's when they're contemplating, they're
Yeah.
considering.
Yeah, we've made an application for Barry on it for the conservation easement. We've not split that and not intending to have homes on parcel 9. Just heard from Barry today, we're not sure what's going on in Washington DC, but we're still planning on applying for that. We've still applied for the conservation easement.
Okay, so that's much different than a PDR.
Yeah, I mean,
It is-
I would assume that they would put a conservation easement on it. PDRs, they sell the development rights. That's different than the conservation easement.
We are looking to sell the development rights through the grant program. So if my language is incorrect, I apologize, but in working with Barry, we are working to sell the development rights away on parcel 9.
Which may or may not happen.
It's subject to PDR.
Pardon me?
It's subject to PDR board's
Subject to
approval.
Yes, correct. Which I believe the application's due August 15th.
But with regards to this application, parcel 9 has frontage and it can stand alone.
Right.
So this information provides more of a context, but has no bearing on the request for the private road.
Did you secure the road access curb cut if you will from the county?
That's what I had mentioned. We are finishing one minor item about a culvert. That's where I made the comment, they think water goes uphill, I think. And because of the topography of the roadway, we're still coordinating that one little minor thing with our civil engineer. We expect to have that prior to the next meeting.
Okay, and we would have our engineer review the plans as part of the process, but as to water running downhill.
Water does go downhill.
It appears that this entire roadway will go to you get stormwater management.
We have an area that is, as you come in off of Mass Road, there's a drainage area where we'll be draining our water to, keeping it all on site. That's on the I think it's on the second page of the survey. Between
Yes,
the
I was
first and
trying-
second, yeah, you see
trying
that?
to see what parcel it is, but I couldn't identify that real quickly. But so I guess the point is, or the question is that sufficient?
Yes. The storm calculations are in the civil engineering drawings. It is sufficient for the site.
I'm not running through those, but
Yeah,
so the question would be for all the ditch, because it's a long stretch of straight ditch line. Would you consider adding some check dams?
there are check dams in the civil engineering drawings.
Okay,
And
you can see those, but
I don't know what,
didn't look extensively, but
I don't know what sheet is in your package, but it is, the civil drawings are after the easement.
it's very tiny.
Easement drawings, and I know, but there are check dams alongside the roadway. Slow the water down. And there's silt fencing and those kinds of things as well.
You have to blow it up on the PDF to see it.
Yeah,
Which raises a bigger question, maybe we can get these drawings.
they can on the big screen.
Yeah.
No, I think Susa's drawings will be provided prior to the next meeting.
Check dams are called out.
Because this hasn't been sent to Ted yet for final review, and we don't know if we might have other changes that were required to us.
Those were my questions, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, she 107, survey.
And the stormwater calculations are also in that package as well.
Yeah, we know.
To follow up on Dan's question, so the water retention is roughly halfway in that east-west section of the road.
Correct.
And that's parcel 2. I presume that's a buildable parcel. I'm trying to imagine, we are getting more and more and more water, and a lot of our waterways for retention and discharge have been overpowered by some of the rains we've had. I guess there's no plan yet where the house would be, but I'm wondering how that parcel is going to handle it. Are we setting that homeowner up for a problem?
No, actually not. If you look at the topo, there's a natural low spot that's already there, which is adjacent to, and I'm happy to show you on the plan and point it out to you if you'd like, but there are areas that are above on either side of that low spot where they can put the house. There's a lot of opportunity for
But I
that
don't have
area.
any idea how many gallons it can hold or how many gallons a 100-year rain is.
That's on the stormwater calculations on the, I think it's the third page where they've calculated, plus there are swales on the edges of the road,
Okay.
which with the check dams, the idea is that when the water drains off the road, it will have some time to percolate because of the check dams before it reaches the low area.
Okay. And then I have a question about this, it says EXC, I'm not sure what.
Where is that? Where do you see that?
Apparently it's a parcel that's not part of this development,
Yes, there are two out parcels. So on the southeast corner of...
I have no questions about that.
Okay, and then there is also two homes that are about halfway up on Mass Road. It's
Okay.
kind of a diagonal. They actually were the original owners, and there are
Okay.
two homes that are there, and that's outside of the property.
And that parcel line that's on this survey is a new parcel line?
So yes.
My concern has to do with the barn.
Okay, so the barn, so on the survey where it says exception, that parcel that's kind of at a diagonal, parallelogram is diagonal.
Yes.
What's interesting is when you look at the old property boundary, they had an easement for that. And when they went to sell that, that's why there's that jog, where that barn fits in that jog, instead of it being a straight parallelogram. So you see
it
the
doesn't
jog?
look to me like it does fit in that jog.
Well, no, from the survey that when they sold the property, the barn does fit in that.
Sri, how far is it from the side of that barn to that parcel line is drawn? It looks, I can't tell, but it looks like it's less than 30 feet.
It could be, we didn't talk about that when we had our initial meeting. That's an existing lot line.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this one. This lot line used to go straight.
Right.
And when they sold it, when I looked at the history of this, that barn was over the property line, so they changed that.
What's the address?
But it was, yes, it was an sorry. Yes, it was an existing barn, so when they moved the property line to sell it, I don't know what they did for the setbacks with respect to that, for the barn.
How many acres is parcel 1?
Parcel one, hang on, let me get to that for you.
5.237, I see.
Okay, sorry, you got it quicker, I'm looking at it on my phone, it's even smaller.
I just can't help but think that, forgive my nomenclature, but it seems like the iron pipe that's the most northern one by the barn, if you went straight east, that barn then would not be non-conforming. Right now, it's too close to the parcel line.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. We did not, when my client bought the property, we did not create the exception parcel. That was done before we bought the property, and that was not included in the property. So the 75 acres, that where it says the exception, that's an out parcel. So we had nothing to do with that lot line delineation.
Right, that parcel was, I just pulled it, it took me a while to get to that location. That parcel with the non-conforming barn was modified in 1999. So it's an existing non-conforming barn. They didn't create that lot line that's existing.
That was given to us when we bought the property.
I just don't want to miss an opportunity to make it conforming.
Totally understand.
Oh, I tried, can you just...
Totally understand, but we would have to ask that client then to buy the property back to make that conforming, and I don't think they're ready to do that. I can't speak for them, but that's what that would mean.
It's a fraction of an acre. Thank you. Shelley?
I have a, follow-up, given John Ray's point, related to stormwater management.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like you're anticipating that there will be overflow from the stormwater management system you've designed or have designed to go to the low spot on parcel 2. It seems like maybe your engineer should review that and perhaps construct that and design that larger.
They have. So I think OHM is the one, your engineers that review the civil engineering. When they design the engineering system, my understanding is that they're designing for a 100-year storm. So they're not just doing a normal storm, they're doing for a 100-year storm. And so that they have sized it appropriately for the current code requirements for storm events. So they haven't, meaning they haven't made it smaller just for the sake of not using much land. They've done it per code for the calculations based on the soils, the road type, the climate, and the current rainfall. But the civils will review that. I'm sure your civil will review that, and happy to have our civil engineer discuss it with theirs, with yours, excuse me.
Thanks.
Yep.
I move to schedule consideration of the private road request at the next available township board meeting, as the application has been deemed complete, and the board has directed the zoning administrator to forward the plans for engineering and fire department review.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. Shelley?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. Number 2.
Judy, you want to do the preamble?
Okay, so the second one, Fox Lane Extension, we have Don Johnson. The applicant here, he owns the property at the end of Fox Lane at this time, and he reached out to split the property, which would require extending Fox Lane to provide frontage and access to the new lot. When he first started a couple of years ago, over a year ago, the lapse of the timing is not, he was trying to find a surveyor and all other stuff. But when we initially talked about it, he indicated the challenges he was facing at that time was trying to get, Don, feel free to correct me if I state anything incorrectly. He was having challenges to get the residents on board for a maintenance agreement. Fox Lane does have an existing easement that's recorded, and he is willing to extend that easement onto his property to meet the access easement requirements. The challenge comes down to 2 things. One, getting the residents to sign a maintenance agreement, and then 2, trying to bring the existing Fox Lane up to standards. Just to jog your memory, this is very similar to Port Road extension you guys have considered last year, but that one was a little bit easier because Marche, the applicant, was able to get the residents to sign the agreement and was able to make improvements such as adding culverts and widening the road for the existing lane. For this particular one, he is seeking a variance from the board to leave the existing road as is, and to allow a hammerhead instead of a cul-de-sac for the extended portion. Don, would you like to add anything to that?
No, just the drawings are all done in Washington Engineering. They've been done for a long time.
So he is right, and he did hire Washington Engineering to prepare all the engineering drawings. As part of the package, the applicant, the engineer put together a draft maintenance agreement, but it is my understanding that you still have challenges to get signatures. It's in there to check the box, but
There will not be a
they will
maintenance
not,
agreement.
yes. So it's a moot. the
No,
draft
there's
agreement
12 residents on the private road, and the road is in great condition and always has been. And the people that live on it do not want anything to do with the maintenance agreement. Tried to talk to them.
How's it getting maintained now?
We take care of it. Mostly I have. I've been there 29 years. Me and a couple other neighbors, and everybody pays for the gravel and stuff, so it's not really a big deal. It's a nice road. If anybody's been down it, it's.
All the residents chip in?
Yes, right. Yes. Yeah. We have like a little secretary that takes care of all that.
You have a maintenance agreement. Nobody wants to sign it.
Kind of, yes, exactly. We call her the road commissioner already. She takes care of that.
The one thing Washington Engineering didn't do is provide a cross-section of the road. What is the width, 22 feet?
Well, the easements are 33 on
I
the
think
east
that-
side, so I think it's like a 66-foot easement.
Yeah, I'm fine with everything. I'd like to see a cross-section. Sri can show you an example like from the last application.
Okay.
In fact, we have documents for that.
I'd say they did, they came back and did the road for me.
If they did the plan and profile, they don't have a cross-section. That's what it is.
Right, I can share the standard cross-section with Joe, but then that would just be for the extended
That's
part
what
of
I
the road.
understand.
I do want to pause just a moment, a little learning moment. I know we talked about this multiple times and I've beaten this to death, but the ordinance where it allows an exception, you know, with those three conditions, if you remember, no more than 3 lots, access that is safe and by fire, and then access easement. That language specifically states, the second one, that the right-of-way provides a safe means of access for fire or these vehicles from the public road to the single-family dwelling units. It doesn't say public or private, it specifically says public road, which is why the driveway he's proposing off of Fox Lane is not considered a shared driveway, it is considered an extension of private road, which was one of the errors that happened in the past where...
But it is now.
Yes, you are,
Yeah.
right. No, your application is right. I'm
Okay.
using an opportunity to clarify something.
However, question, it looks like there's alternate recommendations based on the information you have received. So, do we have what we need?
So, the drawings-wise, I think he did a great job, except for the cross-section. I think the engineers put together a complete packet. Our engineer did have an opportunity to review it, to provide his comments, but at least the packet is complete. They did provide a maintenance agreement, but it's kind of a moot point because he just, as you can see, he just indicated there's no way he could get signatures. There is an access easement in place and he's willing to provide additional access easement. The application also requires that he acquires signatures from all the residents, which is not provided. But the ordinance does allow like that you can waive requirements, which we also talked about in our last meeting. It kind of is kind of subjective, it is not very specific, so essentially for this to move forward, he will be requesting variances for 1, to leave the existing road as is, and then 2, to allow a hammerhead instead of a cul-de-sac, and 3, not having a maintenance agreement in place. So if this moves forward, we will publish a paper notice identifying those 3 variances, and if any other, if we identify as part when we get the reviews back from fire and engineering, then we'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah, I'm ready to move with the exception that we get the cross-section drawn.
I'm just letting you know. So it says that the fees are $1,090,
Right.
but that seems like that was straight for engineering. Doesn't seem to me like we charged an application fee.
I think that was
It was all in there.
I'll have to go back and check the calculation, but
What are you looking at, John?
we will catch
The
that before.
application says 1,090, but I believe that there's a document in here from the engineering firm that we paid them 1,090.
No, we didn't pay them.
No, the check went to them and he dropped it off,
Yeah.
and Joe brought it to you. That's correct.
Right, so Don paid fees to cover the application fees and then to cover the escrow fees for our engineering reviews, which hadn't been completed yet.
So how much of it is the fee and how much of it is for escrow?
I'm sorry, I did not anticipate that question.
So
I need to
600,
calculate.
sorry.
So the fee,
Okay.
Where is it? On Western Engineering.
Yeah. 600 is escrow.
I'm not sure what.
490 for fees.
I remember I was the one who gave him the number, just trying to get the calculation. Okay, so the,
113?
okay, so the variance fee is $325. The review fee is $100 minimum and $30 per each lot. So all the lots on Fox Lane were counted to come up with that number. And then $400 is typically the escrow we collect for the engineering review. So $690 would be the fee, being the $400 for the engineer. I do want to point out that he will be requesting 3 variances, but because I don't have enough guidance, it didn't say per variance or something like that. I just counted 325 per variance, not per each, for the variance, not per. But I will go back and redo the calculation to assure you to make sure that all fees are covered before the next meeting. But
Yeah, and in the last one that we did, there was nothing, that space was blank on the application.
Velvet Ridge? Yes, you're right. We just fixed that this morning. Linda put in the information on the paper. But they did pay all the fees.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions, if I may. Sri, on your summary, you indicated there's a 66-foot wide access easement is proposed, and it appears it's only 40 feet.
Okay, you are correct. The 66 feet is the existing easement. The proposed easement is 40, so that's the 4th variance.
Okay. And in looking at the zoning map, parcel map, there are probably, maybe 6 other opportunities for parcel splits. So that, it could go from, what's it, 14 that are using this now, 15 up to 21
Yes.
house sites. I think people should be aware of that, there could be much greater usage.
Yes.
And then as to the proposed, is there a proposed hammerhead at the end of this?
Yes.
Drawing there, yeah.
Okay, I don't see that in the physical construction of whatever the road is.
Tom Sutherland did the drawings for the property, and then Joe Maynard did the other.
Partial what?
No, I think
Yeah, the easement is 40 feet.
easement shows the hammerhead, but the
There's
driveway
no
looks.
design of the road to allow that.
We would,
It's not, it wouldn't be built.
right.
No, it's gonna be on the drawing, it's gonna be there, the property would be designated for it.
Yes, but it's not being shown as being constructed.
We would catch that in the review, but it will be.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to drive a fire truck full of water onto just dirt. It's got to have something to be driven on.
Yeah, and then I guess another
I
comment.
had the fire department out there twice in the last, several years. This has been going on for a long time. And each time they showed me their drawings and said that I met all the criteria that they had. And And then that Don retired, so now, I don't know who's in charge now, but I don't know if he's been out and seen it, but John Diddley, or Don. Yeah, he come out and he went over it with me, and he goes, it's great, he goes, I'll talk to Sheree, he said, you don't have any problem with fire. And that's the last I got, and then he retired, and now it's been going on for 1.5 years since that, so I don't know how many fire people need to come out and check it out, but he was quite satisfied with it.
I'm just saying Hammerhead is more than just space. It has to be able to support lots of weight. And they won't drive off of the driving surface if they think there's any chance they'll get stuck.
Right. It would just have to go up to the residence, at my residence now, there's a great big turnaround right there. It's about another 150, it might be 200 feet around the corner.
Don, I think I understand what the board is trying to say. I will reach out to Joe and explain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I already gave him a heads up that we are talking about it tonight.
Okay.
So I will explain that to Joe.
Okay.
So another comment I have is the layout of the proposed drive is...
Not in the middle of these.
Sorry?
It's not in the center.
Yeah, it's not in the center of the easement, which typically you would do, and I understand, or I'm imagining you probably are trying to avoid removal of trees and brush, what have you. But I guess I'm wondering whether that easement maybe should be a little wider there so that it's not, I mean, the edge of the road is likely going to be off the easement. So that could be problematic for whoever that owner is.
We did talk about potentially reaching out to the neighbor to the right, and then instead of extending the Fox Road at an angle, if we could just be extended to the straight, it would be beneficial for both the applicants. But I understand Don didn't have any positive response from the neighbor.
The power line is right in the middle of the easement, and it's on my property, but you can't move that. So I don't know how you would do that.
So I think I can see very great points that were raised, which would require some revision of the drawings to check those boxes. So it may or may not be ready for the next meeting, but those are all achievable, addressable comments.
Yeah, well, the road is going to have to be 22 feet, and that, if you put in the drainage on it from our private road standards, that all falls up to 56 feet of width. To drainage extension, the drainage extension, it's the same drawing they had at the past meeting, and I think it's the same one that's in our private road ordinance now. So it's something to check. You might have, all that should be worked out.
Right. All those comments will pop up. Like I said, the set is complete and he has an engineer on board, but the review wasn't complete, so there might be comments that need to be addressed.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes. I think, yes, at a future meeting makes sense.
Just give you time.
Yeah, and then that would give me time to set a date with Tony.
Yeah, good.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
So you're scheduling the public hearing as well.
Okay. I move to direct the zoning administrator to work with the applicant to obtain the required missing information and to bring the application forward to the for township board consideration, along with the necessary review comments at a future meeting, and to schedule a public hearing
for the variances.
For the variances.
Second.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Okay.
Jeff?
Aye.
Aye.
No?
Aye.
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 Number 3.
Yes.
Oh, wait, this is, sorry, not number 3. This would be new item
E. Okay, 7523 Webster Church Road. Yes. It's page number 131. During public comment, the board has heard from Larry Wheeler and his neighbor Toby Bratt. They were referring to this application. This is essentially a shared driveway, but it has to comply with these accepted standards to be not require a private road permit. And the three standards, as we talked about, is no longer, it cannot serve no more than 3 lots. It has to have access from safe access from a public road, and then 3, it has to have a recorded easement in place. It meets 1, it's not serving no more than 3 lots. It meets the third one, where they have a recorded access easement in place. But it doesn't meet number 2 based on our fire review. Because it's a general code ordinance, the applicant is seeking, after consulting with the attorney, the path that was provided to the applicant is come to the township board to see if, based on what he's offering with regards to agreeing to record a maintenance agreement and agreeing to provide a safe turnaround at the end of the road, if the township board can make a determination that whether it meets number 2 or not. If the board makes the determination that yes, it meets the number 2, then this road can be accepted from the private road standards and can be addressed administratively. So the reference the neighbor was talking about in their proposed drawing, the applicant was proposing a hammerhead on his property and constructing a hammerhead on this property. And when I was talking with the neighboring resident 2 days ago, he pointed out that hammerhead at that location is not practically possible because of the grades and the slope. And he offered an alternative where he said, there is an existing hammerhead that can be brought up to standards, which is on his property, and he's willing to put that extent of the road onto the hammerhead in an access easement.
Yeah, I'm working with Shree on a permit to build a pole barn right there. I'm intending to buy a 48-foot RV. So there'll be all kinds of room to turn around right there, right in front of that building. And that, it's basically just a big giant hammerhead that comes off of my main driveway, goes up to the pole building. So.
I did clarify to him that it's a great thing that he's offering to do that. It will also allow, to bring his property into compliance moving forward with the frontage and all that. But I did clarify that there has to be a legal document in place that allows access to public vehicles, which is why he said he's willing to extend the easement onto his property and provide access to public. So option 1, if the board decides to determine that it meets item 2, it would be subject to condition based on that the location of the hammerhead to be determined, in discussions with the fire, subject to fire, the AFP chief approval. And I think that was the only condition I have right now.
Should I get a hold of the fire department, have them come over and look, or?
No, I don't think
Sure, you have a question. I don't understand how this is limited to 3 parcels.
I didn't too, but then when I zoomed in, the first parcel, it looks like it's the same driveway, but it comes off of, not the Walsh. That's Church Road. And then there's a second parcel that is fronting on this drive, but it access comes off another shared drive to the left of it. So we.
Well, I would, 7845, easement crosses that property.
Right.
7855, the easement crosses that property. 7517.
One of them doesn't have access though.
Right.
Well, the easement crosses the property.
I know, they don't have access, they're not on that road.
So the
That part I
They would have a legal right to use an easement that
Cross it.
They don't, they actually don't.
Well,
No,
then
no,
these
Not in there.
No,
It's
no,
not
they
under
do.
deed.
Mike, I think both are right. Dan is right in the sense because the easement is on their property, technically they do have legal right to access the, add an access to that. But however, in the draft maintenance agreement, we've discussed that they have to put in a condition that no additional access can be added, and that property owner is gonna sign the agreement as well. Because he has legal access off of,
I would imagine there are 3 parcels on the east side of that easement that can use the property, and there's another one on the west side. So
There are 2 lots that crosses that they don't have. One is a hayfield and one is another house. The other house, they don't have access to the driveway. We just cross the very edge of their property.
if the easement crosses their property, they could use the easement.
unless there's a restriction or covenant in place that says they cannot, which they have to agree to.
They're not, well, I mean, this is a
No,
legal
no, that's
issue.
a great point, that's a great point. What I'm trying to say is there are provisions where we can make sure that this can be addressed. And we've had Hauser Lane, which was in a similar situation, where we put in the condition where the applicant knows that if he ever adds a 4th access, they have to come back and modify the maintenance agreement, they have to come back and widen the road, they have to make sure that it's brought up to the private road standards at that point.
Right, if he's talking about people that are not listed on this agreement, and trying to exclude them
Right.
without the legal right to do so.
That's
So
a
I
great,
just think it's headed for a problem.
it is a great point. We will, like I said, this hasn't been sent for final reviews yet. We will make sure that the legalities are covered and we don't leave any liabilities moving forward. And I will provide a clarification as how that has been addressed.
Okay, so another question I have is, your summary says at least 14 feet of horizontal clearance, but the plan shows an 18-foot drive. So there's a discrepancy there. What is the proposal? And the maintenance agreement, sorry for interrupting. It talks about 66-foot wide access easement, but it shows 18 feet as well.
Yeah.
So is that the driving surface?
Yeah, because they have, it's hard to see, it's on the page. Page 142, that little mini cross-section drawing in the lower right. You can pull the 18 and 66 dimension off of that. So that's 18-foot driving surface.
Okay. But I don't think that exists today.
So I'm still missing the easement part. So as a road, they could drive over to Larry's house. They could not connect to it with their own house because we do not have access to it. It's old, it was a mistake in deeds long ago, but that's the way it works right now. So it's kind of a weird, that's why there's only technically 3. So, because they have their own extra easement and.
The resident in that other property that we crossed is aware of the 3-house limit too.
We'll have, the way it would work, we have done that with Hauser Lane, we have done that with Baldur's Way. With that, every property the road passes over has to sign the maintenance agreement. Not just the 3 people who have access on it. Every property that the easement exists has to sign the agreement so that they know their rights to access it.
Well, so the agreement will say they don't have a right.
Right, right.
Got it, perfect. Thank you for telling me. Okay.
So you're saying that those neighbors have to agree to, and they're signing something saying they're not going to use that even though
Right.
And
the road is on their property?
I mean, technically, they'll never be able to anyway, but
No.
everybody else on the road gives them an easement.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
don't have.
so there are other easements that exist there that
there are existing driveways.
I'm sorry?
There is an existing driveway for the second property off of directly, that access comes directly from Webster Church Road.
There's an easement that goes all the way back to the parcel E.
Yes, but they don't have it on, these other people don't have it on their deed. They do not have the ability to use it. Left over from 1960 or whatever. Farmers making deeds, that's all I can tell you. It's very complicated.
Okay, I think, sorry, my laptop just loaded. So to answer your question, the three properties that are considered to have driveway access off of the shared driveway are 7565, 7523, and 7583. Those three have direct access from the shared driveway. 7517 has the road on their property, but they have their own access directly from Webster Church Road to the west, behind the buildings.
What will we do when they come to the township and they're proposing to do a parcel split, and they say, we're going to access through
They can't.
this?
They don't have access.
They've already tried.
Which is what one of the things we discussed in our presentation before, as when we redo the draft agreement, we have to, like, if somebody goes from 3 to 4, then they are no longer accepted, they have to bring the road to standards before they can split.
So basically, even though it looks like they're, so when you have the land, and an easement goes over, you're a subservient tenement, or whatever. That's all they are. They do not have the dominant tenement part that the rest of the people on the road do to actually use the easement. So it is bizarre. I've never seen it before, but that's what we have.
Well, so I'm looking at this as the only information I have.
Right.
So we don't have title work on those parcels, which if I were doing this, I would provide that as a piece of information so that we know that we're making good decisions here.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is exactly the purpose of the meeting. If there's any information you would like, you would say which you did, so we will get that to you at the next meeting.
Well, I guess I'd like to understand why everyone here, or those who have voiced this statement that only 3 people have the ability to use this, when it clearly, to me, looks like more people can. So, if there's a way to prove that, that would be very, very beneficial.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? The hammerhead that would be available on your property, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the understanding that when you develop a hammerhead, that it has to be clear at all times? You can't park anything in it. So is that a possibility? It sounds like it's sort of part of your drive. Because if you parked your camper in it, then the fire truck couldn't turn around, sort of idea is the...
I can get you dimensions. I've got the aerial view of the property if you'd like to take a peek.
Well, I don't,
There's from the main driveway back to the building, there's quite a distance.
okay.
So, I own a tractor trailer, and as it sits right now, it's only half done, and I can pull in there, turn around, and leave.
Okay, it's good.
So I figure, if I can get in, a fire truck can get in.
Shirley, to answer your question, I think the way we would approach this is I'm going to put forward both options to the fire department, the one they proposed and the one he's offering. And then depending on what the fire department chooses is the right way to go, we will make sure that the location that is accepted meets the standards and the access easement, and then it is part of the access easement and maintenance agreement, and the restrictions will apply to the whatever hammerhead we choose to move forward with.
So the current proposal is a cul-de-sac, which
Right.
is located on the southwest corner of parcel E.
Right. So that's the one the fire has reviewed, and they indicated that the cul-de-sac is half the size they want it to be. They would rather have a hammerhead instead. And now, just 2 days ago, Toby offered up, instead of having the hammerhead at that location, we'll have it a little bit further on his property and do the needful to meet all the agreement and the requirements. So the option 2 Toby offered hasn't been discussed with the fire department yet. But I think if you definitely, your choices are, you could either make a determination that yes, it meets a standard 2, and then make sure it's in compliance with all applicable standards administratively. 2, you could say that we need this additional information before we are able to make the determination for item 2, and you can postpone the decision. Or item 3 is that it has to go through the private road permit process. So those are your options in front of you.
I guess just so you guys know what you're thinking about it, I've put personally quite a bit of money into that road, and it's a good road right now. It's a really good road. And we've cut, Larry and I spent the last few years cutting brush back, so it's clear on both sides, quite a ways back. There's good lines of sight. Just so you guys know, we had no idea that we needed to be widening it to 18 feet. So that wasn't taken under consideration when we were doing it, but it's plenty passable. Like I said, I bring a tractor trailer all the way up to my house on that road.
Your future plan is to bring it up to the cross-section you have shown in your plans.
I'm sorry?
Your intention, though, is to bring it up to the cross-section drawing as you have shown in your plans, which is the 18-foot wide driving surface.
No, my plan is not to widen the driveway anymore. I'm out of money for a driveway at this moment.
Okay, in other words, what he's offering is to have a maintenance agreement recorded in place, which is not existing right now, to make sure that the road is kept clear and for safe and emergency access, and then 2, to provide a hammerhead at a suitable location. The applicant is not offering to any widening of the existing road.
Why is this drawing in our package?
To show the cul-de-sac location. That they're offering a cul-de-sac at the end.
Why was this drawing generated? Who did this?
This drawing was generated so that we can identify what are the existing widths of the road, so that they can determine if any variances are required or if it is acceptable the way it is. 7517 is the parcel the applicant is trying to build a house, which triggered, that is Lawrence Wheeler's parcel, and the one that says parcel D is Toby's parcel.
Yeah, okay. So you're offering, this is the cul-de-sac, is that what this is supposed to be?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at that.
I mean, I like scribbled all over it.
Okay.
I was drawing.
Okay, I'm starting over. Parcel E is Larry Wheeler's, which is what triggered the application, and parcel D is Toby Pratt's. That's where the existing hammerhead is.
Okay.
But there's no easement to that hammerhead.
There's no existing easement to the hammerhead, but he's offering.
Where is parcel C?
Parcel C. Yes, they did.
Oh.
Assuming it's 7583.
Yeah, they didn't need it. It doesn't help that they had the blow up and the small scale on the same drawing.
What else? So who hired Netterville or Niederville Engineering? So the title block says it was prepared for Larry Wheeler, 7523 Church Road, and it's claimed to be the private road site plan.
Parcel E. That's
Did you
7.5.
pay for that, or is it, did you?
No, that's Mr. Weber.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, I think this provides an opportunity for a general discussion too. What is acceptable? What is acceptable in this situation? This is a drive, we will have precautions, but let's hypothetically say we are in agreement. This is a shared driveway that is providing access to no more than 3 lots. It's existing. All the applicant is trying to do is build a house on one of the vacant lots. The improvements he's offering from the existing conditions is having a maintenance agreement in place and providing a hammerhead. The fire has visited the site and he said it's pretty flat. There is no vegetation, so they do have the required vertical clearance. And the gravel is not wide enough, but they have required horizontal clearance. So it is the first item in the chart I provided, by the way, I need those filled and submitted. That was the question I raised in the last meeting. In this situation, what is acceptable for you to say, okay, because what the fire wants is a 20-foot wide road in this situation, gravel, and then a hammerhead at the end, 66 wide easement. But it does come with the cost associated with it, because now we are asking them to widen the road from 14 to 18 feet. So this is a question that kept coming up in previous discussions. This is a good opportunity to talk about. What do you think is acceptable that could provide a fire safe access?
So CIP said that the existing should meet township zoning requirements.
Right, because they have refused to provide, not refused to, but they're saying we cannot say this is acceptable because we are bound by, what's safe for fire. So they wanted you to make that call for them.
Sure. So I did visit the site. I didn't go all the way back to the parcel.
I'm at the end, I'm all the way at the end.
Parcel D. In fact, now I turned around in the southeast corner of parcel D. But it is clear and open, as you indicated, and nice road. I mean, I could see where if there were some bump outs added, 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah, so that was...
would allow for the fire emergency vehicles to pass if they needed to. That could be something that we could consider
as a mitigation measure.
Correct.
Yeah, I added 2 of those so people could pass and we had a place to push snow in the winter.
Yeah, so in the winter they wouldn't be usable.
Yeah, that's the thing we want to avoid is
right.
filling all this stuff or putting aggregate on it, piles of aggregate so you can maintain the road later. It defeats the purpose of actually having the pump outs. It's not storage.
What's missing for me in all these discussions are standards of review.
The current ordinance doesn't provide us. That was the whole reason why all these roads are in existence, because the ordinance just says safe access for fire emergency. There is no standards of review, and none of the previous shared driveways were sent to fire to provide a recommendation, which is why we are in this situation.
I know, but we have a duty to treat everyone equally.
Yes.
And the way that we're doing it is not going to result in everyone getting treated equally.
Exactly. Which is why the chart that was provided to the board, so that we can have standards of review so that we are consistently making determination in this one, which is why the question I was prompting earlier is, like, in this situation, what do you think would be a safe access? And this is an opportunity to set those standards of review, to talk, discuss, and agree on those standards of review. This would be your precedent test case. And this would be a good example. This discussion will also be a good example to draft the ordinance moving forward.
I'm sure that other municipalities have excellent standards of review, and I don't know what they are.
Okay.
the original consideration, we have ultimately, depending on how you look at it, 2 or 3 choices, right? We can say that whatever he has now is good, and we can move forward with allowing, is it administrative approval or for, okay? We can say that it doesn't meet the guidelines because ultimately we're concerned that it could become a private road instead of a shared driveway, right? To your point, Dan, because there's more splits available, right? Or we could say, we have a lot of questions, can you go back and get more information, and this is the information we want.
Yes, thank you. Yes, those are the 3 options.
Okay, would someone like to pick one of those? With a motion.
First one sounded good.
This is a good opportunity. I would really like some guidance from the board. I'm sorry, you made a motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Okay, this would be a good opportunity to give me guidance as what do you envision as standards of review. Or you could fill that form and get it back to me because that will help me draft the standards of review.
So I've heard us talk a lot about fire safety. I've heard us talk a lot about it today and in a previous drafting of the ordinance. We are clear that public safety is one of our priorities in the cases of roads, right? So in this case, they've looked at public safety, and they have some options about what they can do to make the shared driveway safe, even though it doesn't meet the 14-foot width. So if we did option 3, which was send them off to get some more information for us. Information I would want is what is the most plausible way to make the road safe per the fire department. So where would they want the bump outs? Where would they want, what do we need for the hammerhead? Those 2 locations mentioned, which one is the safest? That's what I would want the fire department to answer. They've already answered that, you know, the bump out, for me, the bump outs, sort of solve the issue of the 14-foot road not being what they want, but I also appreciate the idea that you're saying the road is clear on both sides too. So, you know, at least for the time being. On the flip side of that, I also think Dan is right. So how it could be a split.
So the 4th point is would be, since we're leaning towards bringing more information, the 4th one would be, which I noted, what Pam mentioned, is to get you some clarity as how to address that it is not serving no more than 3 lots. Right. And how do we make sure that it's not creating any legal issues, and if everybody who has access, who may have access, if they understand it, you know, what's being restricted, what they're signing up for.
Especially with that weird sort of legality of the easement, not easement.
Right.
So that's proof of inaccessibility from the adjacent adjoining parcels?
Right. Something similar. But I think that's good. But going back to, I'm sorry, sounding like a squeaky wheel or something. The possible ways to make it safe. What the fire department has indicated is they will give you options, but they want the board to decide what's better for the township, what's acceptable. Because being a fire chief, they cannot say anything less than 18 feet is safe.
But they could tell us
Yeah,
where to put a bump out.
Yeah,
they could tell us which hammerhead is better
yes.
for them.
Yes. They could definitely provide indications on that. They could give you options what could help out. We did talk about a lot of alternate options at the last meeting. We can bring all those to you, and then you could then say, okay, like hypothetically, it's not a slopey, windy road, it's a straight road, so topography is a factor. The vertical clearance is a factor, horizontal clearance is a factor. the length of the road is a factor. So all these are the factors that contribute to the safe access. All listed on the spreadsheet. Okay, so I guess you're leaning towards motion, so to postpone. If that's the case, you would just say that I postpone consideration of the applicant's request to a later meeting, provided the additional information discussed at the meeting is provided. Yeah. Yes.
I move that.
We can do it in discussion. I'm still confused about the interests.
Oh, I think since the motion's on the table, somebody needs to second that,
All right.
and then
Fine.
we'll discuss.
All right.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, so question about the interest. Mr. Wheeler, you're the one that's looking to build a house on 7523. So you contracted with the engineering firm to come up with a...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You contracted with the engineering firm to put this grading plan together that we have in our packet.
Right.
And Toby, your interest in not widening the road, where is your parcel here?
I'm all the way at the end, I'm 7565.
But you made the comment you're out of money as far as increasing the road. The reason that comment is made.
It's a half mile from my house to the driveway.
Yep.
I've already spent $30,000 on aggregate. I brought it
But
back.
you're not applying for this permit.
He's not, but I think he's trying to be a good neighbor.
Oh, fair
Yeah,
enough,
yeah.
fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
I'm doing something different on my property, but it coincides with his and it provides a solution to his problem, so
Okay,
that's why I'm here with him.
I understand. But the concern is, if that was done and you have that standard that's in place, if that were put in place for the whole thing, then this problem is solved
Yes.
in ways. Because there's going to be other splits that come up, and this problem's going to come up again. You know, we've already had guidance from the breakout section with Doug, the fire chief. He's not a fan of bump outs for all the reasons that we just talked about. And so if it's a half a mile, you have half the road in now. I mean, right now, so that's probably on the order of another 30 or 50,000 to bring it up to the drawing specs that are here. I mean, so I think getting Dan's questions answered are important to me as well, as far as what splits are available. And I'm not inclined to approve the word. I'd like to see a solution come out, so when the next split happens, it's already been addressed and this doesn't repeat.
Correct.
It's not even a split, it's right now. These parcels could be coming in to apply for a building permit.
Yeah.
Those are also options on the spreadsheet. What happens when you do this from that? What is your, so please do fill that spreadsheet.
Well, because that raises the question, though, is that I don't think the last person in, or Mr. Wheeler, doesn't feel right that they're going to have to pay for the improvement of the entire road. I think that cost, you know, independent of what the appropriate funding mechanism is, that should be split amongst all the folks that are on that road. Now, how we get there, that's a question coming up here soon. But anyway, those are my comments. But thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay.
I'm just curious, so parcel C is where?
Yeah, we don't have the map on it, sorry. I'm not sure.
Well, can you tell?
Morgan Chance.
Yeah, where's Morgan Chance on this?
Morgan?
So from what I can tell, if you look at page 142,
This is where you want to build, where's
It's
there's a little-
7583.
Where?
7583.
I don't see any addresses.
There's no addresses on here.
parcel numbers are kind of small.
So where are they?
I'll ask them to revise it.
7583 is on the west side, immediately after the first house on the left side.
It's the first house, first property on the driveway.
Second house from
Right here
Webster
would be my
Township.
son owns
Yeah.
this one. Then there's like 2.71 acres right here, that's 7583. And
This
then
one.
there's, yeah. and then
So
there's
on the
next
drawing, there's a,
Okay.
it looks like there's a little tiny driveway part, which would be, from what I can read, the same number. Very small.
Yeah,
I think that's the one.
I can't read
Yeah, very small. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. I guess we have a roll call vote.
And can you, I'm sorry, just summarize what the motion is again, please?
Yeah, sure, the motion is to postpone the decision so that they can get the information that we requested. The information that we requested is, what is the best, feedback from the fire department about potential bump outs and what the best hammerhead location is. Information, legal information about the strange easement, and a little bit more detail about the use of the easement in terms of maintaining this as a shared driveway instead of a private road, right? Through the maintenance agreement, most likely, yeah.
So is that proof of access, is that what you're asking
Yeah, or not.
for? Lack thereof?
Yeah.
I would like to see a map of every parcel that's involved.
Me too.
There you go, yeah, an updated map would be
And
great.
the profile, appropriate profile, not just, this is a standard road profile, that's not what's gonna be here.
Well, that was proposed at one point, that's the point. Right, if that was built, then this, for example, if that drawing is there and is built, then this issue is moved subject to Dane's concerns.
Right, because they're not proposing to construct anything that's existing. You need like a profile of existing.
So there shouldn't even be a profile. It's misleading.
Yeah, right, that's the thing I would want to look at, is the one where it calls out, it calls out a road construction profile and a grading plan.
Is that the one from the surveyor?
It's,
Yeah.
That should be what's actually there then, it's from the surveyor.
It's an existing survey, it's not proposed construction, it's existing.
Yeah, yeah.
no, it's a proposed grading plan, that's what I've been asking about. Neverville did, Mr. Wheeler is the client.
Yeah, I think he got the terminology wrong. You're right.
There's no date. But anyway, it's in the package, so it's obviously done. So if this road construction drawing is done,
Right, it's.
then that question as far as us on fire safety is addressed. And then the question shifts back to the unwilling neighbors that may be in the future that don't want to contribute to the cost.
Right.
Which is the perpetual issue that keeps coming up.
Both of the properties that it crosses that are not on it, one has direct access to Webster Church, so there would be no need for that property to get in on the driveway. And the other one, he has his own driveway easement, and you'll find issues on that one too. When you
You know, I understand that point. It's a more general topic for the board, how that's coming up. And if there's going to be other folks that can build on that driveway, if that cost could be recouped. Otherwise,
Wouldn't they split or use the existing driveway to the property? If they split it, they would just become a combined driveway over there too?
this entire question is what we want more information on, as to who actually can get access to that driveway. But for example, say there's nobody else there. If you build that and pay for it, then the question on fire safety goes away. You have to bring it up to 18 feet, and as the cross-section is drawn, and whenever this was actually, asked to be done with this drawing here.
In other words, if the road were 18 feet wide and has the hammerhead, then it meets the standards, you could even qualify for a private road permit.
Yeah, you
That's
can
right.
split it.
Well, we don't want it to be a private road.
That's why
I
we're here.
know.
That's why we're here.
But even in the shared driveway case, even in the shared driveway case, you meet all of it, and it meets everything with respect to fire.
No, I
I think I'm clear. I'm clear on what you're asking, so we'll talk about it.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
so I have a motion and a second. Roll call. Kelly.
Aye.
Aye.
Stain.
Aye.
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 Okay, guys have it. All right. Okay, oh, now we move on to some ordinances that we've gotten from the planning commission. So Shri, could you, Article 14, we'll start with that.
We should print it. I don't know why I didn't print it. Okay, Article 14. This is one of the goals and master plan recommendations to revise standards for stormwater management regulations. Let me correct myself, not to revise, to update. What we have right now is an extensive, it was put together by an engineer who was a zoning administrator, but most of the plans go to Washtenaw County for reviews and subject to their standards, so it's just redundant. And then there were some other environmental friendly recommendations that were made in the master plan. So this proposed amendment is to replace the existing Article 14 in its entirety to address the recommendations from the master plan, 1, and then 2, to defer the review to Washtenaw County, which is the ongoing process right now. No new standards are added. If anything, some of the standards are moved from our zoning ordinance because they are administered and enforced by Washtenaw County. We did not add any new standards than the existing ordinance. We just provided some clarity with regards to drainage and other items. And we also removed some standards. If you read in my memo, it referred to some recommendations from the attorney. He suggested we remove certain standards which are in the ordinance, which are guided by the state drainage code and not our responsibility to resolve those issues. So we removed those as well. If there are any specific questions as we go through each section or as we just have a general discussion on the ordinance, I'm happy to address those. But it's pretty much straightforward. It's more geared towards clarifying, simplifying the current ordinance.
That's a comprehensive amount of work. Oh, it's huge.
This is one of the quickest amendments Planning Commission got through too. And then again, having a review team or focus team really helped to move this forward. We had Kay Stremler and Paul Zaluka on the review team. This was reviewed by the attorney, the whole ordinance, and revised.
So could you give me some general context of how this would impact the first project that we looked at, the 9 parcels where the water is going to go into that one parcel? How would this language affect that?
So, the first project you guys looked at, it's a private road permit. And this Article 14 is in the zoning ordinance. So this article usually applies, like if you look at the first...
But this is stormwater management. We talked about a road that's got a pretty significant grade, and all the water, the way I read the drawing, is going to end up on that one parcel, parcel 2.
Right.
And I'm wanting to know what, if any, impact this language would have on that.
At this time, based on the current private road ordinance, not much, unless...
But this isn't about the road, this is about stormwater management.
The applicability, I'm having issues with my...
So John, if there
So
roof downspouts would have to be directed somewhere other than the driveway or the concrete walk, impervious surface.
So not like what we did at the fire station.
Correct.
So
That's an impact for that development or any new house.
Okay.
these standards apply for developments that require site plan approval. So that's the applicability for this section. This doesn't apply to single-family and two-family dwelling units or individual lots. They just have to comply with the general drainage standards. This doesn't apply to private road at this time.
So the thing that we talked about earlier with 9 parcels is not considered, it's considered 9 separate parcels. It's not considered.
Right, it's not a site plan that requires approval by the planning commission. So this technically wouldn't apply, but that's one of the points that were raised in the presentation previously, that there is no mention of stormwater management when it comes to private road. There's no mention of wetland permits or protection of natural resources when it comes to private roads, which is lacking in the current ordinance, and that should be addressed with the amendment. There are 2 ways to address that with the amendment. We can either refer the private road ordinance to this section and say all private road improvements should comply with a minimum, Article 14, or we can come up with specific standards catered to private road improvements. So, to go back to your question, the first project we discussed is not subject to this ordinance, the way it's written. It should have been, but we should amend the private road ordinance to address that.
Even as a single-family home is built.
Yes, so that's the clarification the attorney provided, that drainage issues on a single-family home is a private matter between 2 residents. We can only say keep your drainage on your property, but it's when it comes to enforcing it is a private dispute between 2 property owners, which is why we had some restrictive standards in the previous document. The attorney made us simplify it and put it as more of a guidance, or hey, be a good neighbor rather than you shall.
Yeah. A more general response, John, to your question, there's criteria here for like development on steep slopes. There could be some that qualify with what your question was, runoff control standards. It's kind of what Dan was getting at. And there's stormwater best practices. Case here, she's talking about vegetation, all those things to make sure. And it's actually covered more generally even in the predicate to this whole thing. Our area, we rely heavily on natural features such as lake streams, creeks, wetlands, so on. So I'd be open to all of that for the private roads or in some context.
Yes.
The work's already been done.
So I just want to understand, Sri, are you saying that as single-family homes are developed, they do not need to address the gutter issue?
That's how the current ordinance is, and that we didn't change that.
No, that's new, isn't it? That they have to be away from sidewalk and driveway.
No, the existing ordinance says shall more specifically. This one just makes it more of a guidelines. Which section, which point are you looking at?
120D2. I thought that was all new.
No, that was not all new. That was simplified and revised so that it's not as, it's just is more general than not. I'll tell you what's the existing one says. Yes. 2 and 3 are new ones, but that's just, let me see this. Dan, you're correct. I think I was not thinking in terms of it compared to the existing ordinance. When Planning Commission first started working on the draft, item 2 and 3 were extensive, we brought it down. So, but yes, you are right, 2 and 3 are new additions to what we have, but then we wanted to put it in there just more like a reminder, but not. Because we've had a couple of complaints from people coming in and asking, can I file a complaint because the water from the neighbors is coming into here? So we wanted to put something in there that says that, hey, be a good neighbor, but unfortunately, we don't have much right in fixing this way.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I was explaining to John correctly or incorrectly.
Correctly.
The houses
Yes.
that are going to be built
Correctly.
in the development lot split,
Right,
subject to this,
yes,
and they would have to direct their gutters away from impervious areas.
right.
Okay, thank you.
That was easy.
Okay. So I have a motion to adopt this ordinance change.
I'm ready, subject to any other questions, I'm ready to move it forward. Yeah, so I'm going to move resolution 2522.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay. John?
Aye.
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 Okay.
That's for planning commission.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so,
I'll say it again after that.
let's see, so number 2, 1610, natural features impact statement. Starts on 163.
Okay, so again, section 16.10 is also a recommendation from the master plan implementation item, so plan commission wanted to cross that off. The existing ordinance is a little bit of is kind of not exactly in order, and also unclear as what the actual expectation is. It's more generalized and subjective. What we try to achieve with this amendment is to clearly specify what the expectation is and what is required and in what order. It is also, again, one of the quicker amendments Planning Commission did, because this is not one of those things where we're trying to change the standards. We're just trying to clarify and simplify.
Did you produce the document that shows?
Because it's a replacement in its entirety, we're not making any changes.
Got it. Sorry.
That's,
Pick up on
sorry.
It's a
Apologize.
replacement.
It's just shifting from private roads to this and to this. Just
So it's a replacement in its entirety, but it's really just sort of restructuring where things were and clarifying what the expectation was
And
as a
then-
result.
Right, and having consistent terms. The only amendment should just be the other section where we're just making reference to this.
Okay.
That's the only change, we're just saying.
So I'll move resolution number 25-23.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, hearing none, Shelley?
Aye.
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 All right. All right. So, all right, so now we're to the township rebuild update.
Thank you.
Oh,
Planning
thank you for that
Commissioner.
too, by the way. Very nice.
Well done.
Great.
Should see y'all tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, this one takes a little bit of explaining. So during the last, so we sent it out for bid for longer, got a lot more interest, but at the same time, I was kind of cornered by the office staff and our clerk that the existing layout was not what they preferred, I guess is how I put it. So these are the preliminary drawings of what the new layout
should be. Like, so, for example, the conference room for precinct 3, it's a little bigger. It's not big enough that we need sprinklers, but, you know, there are requirements for election distances of things. And as you can tell, the other main, so a lot of it's pretty mild comparatively, but the reason I brought it back as kind of a new thing is because, so there was a ramp, so there's a ramp, it goes down in the garage. The existing plans were to move that ramp, so dig up the first ramp, and then lay another ramp inside the garage. So one of the suggestions from a couple of the builders was to make that garage floor, instead of doing any of that, make that garage floor level and put the ramp outside, which I guess the board had looked at initially, and so it just gives us more inside space for that, I think. And makes it a little bit easier for, once you get people in the building, that they can get to the other, like the bathrooms and stuff.
Is the ramp outside covered, or is it open?
The roof.
A roof, but not
Enclosed.
not enclosed.
So there's, I'm sorry, there is a roof over the,
Yeah,
the ramp and the stairs as well?
So the dotted
Yes,
line,
so-
that's the dotted line around
Oh,
the
I
stairs,
see.
yeah, that's the roof. Like, if I think from what I understood, the main impetus behind this change is that in the previous design, the clerk's office was behind, secluded from rest of the office building. And then after they were reviewing how the workflow happens, it made more sense for the clerks to be with rest of the department for so that, you know, it's easy for coordination and collaboration with rest of the team. And then the second difference was, in the previous design, the enforcement officer was in the middle of working with everybody, and after discussion, it was decided that it would make sense for him to be back there so that the discussions of the workflow that's happening here is not disturbed. I think those two were the primary factors that drove the shifting of the rooms, and then all the other changes were kind of ripple effects trying to make this workflow more efficient and work better. Is that, Tony, did I catch it? Yeah.
So this looks like it's expanding Bill's room by 40%?
Oh, so Chuck will be where Bill is now. So that's that weird triangle part.
Oh,
So
okay.
Bill will actually be in the garage. I guess how that's gonna work.
So how are they gonna level it? Are they gonna do it with wood, with floor?
Your initial comment was correct. It's a bigger office.
It's a bigger office.
Well, we don't have the blueprints for
Yeah, they
it
didn't
yet.
prepare the structural drawings yet, but the plan is to raise the floor up so that there's no need for ramp. And the reason why Bill's office is bigger is because we're trying to keep the conference room under a certain square footage to avoid sprinklers.
Okay. I'm just curious how they're gonna level the floor.
Me too.
Well, a couple of people have proposed like a wood floor.
Well, because if it's concrete, that's a lot.
Right, so.
Whatever the cost-effective, efficient,
Right.
building code compliant.
And I guess if you put it up on wood, you could have, room for ductwork and stuff like that. It's not in the water table.
So what are you looking for, Mike? A motion to hire Cornerstone to do this, or?
Yes, so a motion to, I guess, approve the changes because they are, significant enough that I thought you guys should approve them. And then also, yes, so we have the quote to draw the blueprints, which.
So they can do the bid set.
Right. Oh, the bid set.
I think it's
So.
All right, I'll move the Cornerstone design be approved for the amount of $4,895 to put the bid package together as noted in their proposal letter.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Aye.
Dan, did you vote?
I did.
I was just questioning whether, because he almost looked like he had a question.
You just started over this side numerous times this evening.
Yeah, he was doing that last time.
Which one's that?
I actually wrote a random number generator. Can you-
We should do that.
John, we stopped. Did John?
John?
Yes.
No. I vote no.
No, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I actually wrote a random number generator. You can put it on your laptop and hit it. We all have numbers. That's how I do it.
I do it. So in Sino, they just, they have the clerk basically, it's the same the whole time.
Every time.
Yeah, so, okay. So, all right, thank you. Okay, the legal services retainer letter. So in your packet, okay, so another background for this. So let's just say almost everyone on the board has at one point or another suggested that we look into different legal services. I personally am having a difficulty. So my background, I'm a research attorney, and I am not happy with that particular part of some of the services we're getting. I'm slightly picky about it, and so I was looking for someone who could do what I could do. I wasn't doing all the rest of this, and so I asked one of the few people I know that are out in the private world now, who's done the same kind of things I have. So this Catherine, she worked with me at the Court of Appeals and at the Supreme Court, so she's very smart, as you can tell. And the other thing is the turnaround time I'm not happy with either. For example, I have nothing, it's been, 2 months, I have nothing on what we're going to do with the Morningstar stuff. And it's kind of, I've been having to badger to get things moving. As far as that goes, she worked for a justice who would make her write an opinion, change his mind, and then make her write another one in the weekend. And so she's very quick, and she's very smart, and very good at what she does. So she is an associate at this firm, so she'd be working under the second lady, who's just a bio from their actual website. So, if there are any questions, I will try to answer them. But because the township hires the attorneys, that's why we're here.
So Mike, are you looking at this as just a second source for legal?
Well, so my plan at this point is to have Fahey keep working on what they're working on. Brant has given me but not necessarily the future things. So for example, if we get sued again, so basically Brant has given me the name of someone who he thinks is very good at that. We haven't, and so I haven't brought that yet. So I'm looking at other firms, more replacements than.
Have you expressed to Fahey the issues at hand and that
I have.
It's critical that they address them?
Let's put it this way. I've caught both Matt and Chris messing up cases. So I don't have any reason to keep them for that sort of work. I honestly was going to ask, the group, so your brother, right, does this too. And I don't know if for some of the other work, I guess I'd explore other firms for different things, kind of like what we have now. Like maybe, having someone else, if we decide we want to keep going with having someone as a DBA, picking someone more local, so we save some money, that kind of thing. So this is my first foray into this new endeavor, I guess.
So these, to me, these two individuals look like they're employee employee law.
Right, so that would also come in, we are letting, right now, Lizzie from Fahey is gonna be looking at our employment manual, but, correct.
So is that the goal of these?
Well, no,
this
actually,
firm?
I would like Catherine to be our research attorney. So when I ask questions for anything, about anything, it would go to basically her. If that makes any sense. So she would be doing the work for us.
And that's on any matter?
Well, right now, I just have like basically zoning, but I have an ordinance that I have to, one of the reasons I started this is because there is an ordinance I wanted someone else to look at, because I find it slightly confusing. So,
I guess I don't think I've ever expressed that we need to change the terms, but
right.
I've had a conversation about it.
Okay.
But if we're using this entity to do research on all matters, we're going to be paying them a lot because they will have to do research to understand what the issue is before they can start researching it, because they don't have the experience doing municipal matters.
Okay, so I kind of have to back up. At the Court of Appeals and at the Supreme Court, the way it works is you come in and you do research. Like, so for example, we work on very large cases, and so you have to become an expert at subject matter extremely fast. At the Supreme Court, you have to review each attorney who works for a different justice 200 to 300 cases a month. That's what I mean by fast. Like, I do not anticipate, yes, we would be paying them a lot of money because they would be taking over some of the stuff we have Matt do. But I'm getting, for example, some of the bills, like I'm getting 2 attorneys looking at, like the contract you wanted us to look at for the Ameriscan is costing me, like there were 2 of them. And we did not even, like,
We don't have it back.
well, that's the one we had back, but you didn't agree with any of the conclusions.
He obviously didn't read. He obviously did not understand what we were asking him to do. He obviously did it in haste or else from a perspective that is not our perspective. Let's just say that. He gave us advice that was answered in the contract about how we should handle things. I was just really unhappy with, and I'm an MBA, I'm not, the only research I've ever done is tax law. So I have no clue, on this sort of thing, contract law. But I can look at it as a total novice and say, he's not answering the questions we asked. For instance, Mike specifically said, we have concerns about where this is stored, Well, that is answered in the contract. And he goes on and on about a stick, flash drive. What? Yes. So it's just like, it's like Mike poked him and he spit out this memo without really ever examining these documents. That's my concern.
The attorney said we should store all of the public, very important documents on flash drives.
Well, he said, no, he said, you should have a flash drive. Well, we will have a flash drive. We'll also have internet access to it from Ameriscan. And he was talking about, well, they're just going to put it in the cloud. He didn't even seem to understand that documents on demand was a separate, it's a service that you buy versus the Ameriscan, which is like a job that they perform. 2 different entities really that work together. So I was just chilled by that.
Well, I guess my comment would be, they may be fine. looking at material I have, I would say they'd be great for employment issues, labor law. And that's what their resume shows. So.
Well, except for the Supreme Court, so, no. Like, again, no. Like, I
Professional
mean,
legal experience, Asher Kelly.
right, oh, yes.
Employer benefits attorney.
Correct.
So they're fine for that. I think if you want to have municipal
I
law
know. I need a research attorney. I do not need a municipal
So
attorney.
my comment is that we're hiring them, they're going to keep billing us a lot of time
Yes.
to do research on matters that do not have expertise in.
Well,
So-
subject to that hypothetical, it may not necessarily be the case in two votes.
Like, okay, wait. No. Matt knows nothing about right to farm. That is not municipal law. He has done that wrong. Like, it's not that our attorneys now are not trying to research things they have no idea about. The question is, they're not good at it. Or the observation is, they're not good at it. And so that's, I mean, I don't really care where she works. I want Catherine if I can get it. So, because I know her work. So, so I do understand what you're saying, and yes, there will, I mean, it's like with every law firm, municipal attorneys, they don't really know everything. I mean, I have MTA questions who are supposedly experts, and they don't even talk about half the stuff I need to know about. So that's why I asked for this one. So, anyway.
No, John's got a question.
Okay.
So I would like to say that, to start, I agree with the premise. I've been interacting with the Fahey firm for coming on probably 10 years now. At first, not as a board member. And I do believe there's a tremendous amount of room for improvement.
I second
I do believe that we should think carefully about the scope of what we need, and then I think that we should go out and advertise, this is what we're looking for, and see what kind of response we get. I do believe that there's a lot of value in a firm, not an individual lawyer, but a firm who focuses on township and/or municipal law. And I also think that you can be a great attorney and a terrible litigator. And we need both. We need good litigators and we need good attorneys. And when I fired attorneys, I don't even care what the hourly rate is, because I know exactly what Dan said. If they don't know already, you're going to pay them for hours to learn. I don't want to pay attorneys to learn. I want to hire attorneys that know and pay them a good price for less hours.
Well, I'm not opposed to looking for other counsel, and I agree, I think there has been missteps. I do think we have to have people that are specific for what we do. And I think there's a lot of information out there. I mean, we're not the only township that's been sued for stuff. We're not the only municipality that's been sued for stuff. And I think we need to do a little bit of research ourselves and find out what attorneys they used, if they were happy with them. Again, like Dan or John brought it out, you know, put it out there that we're looking for somebody, and we'll see what kind of credentials we get. Give us cases, give us some of the stuff that you've done. We do need both. We need somebody that is very knowledgeable about what these municipal laws are, but you gotta have somebody that's good in court too. And that's exactly the same thing.
Part of my professional background is been as a public liability expert. So what you'll find in these cases, I mean, the diversity that comes out in legal is vast. You stitch together competent teams that address certain questions. If you certainly have comfort with somebody that's sharp and can get you questions asked, like I said, and if we need to backfill on expertise, there's plenty of attorneys out there. And I think you start, the jeopardy of going with one single firm is the problem that John echoed in the start of his talk there, is that there's been some concerns, so there's room for improvement. So in that case, I think ways that could have been addressed is that there's a bunch of other smaller law firms out there that have specific expertise that we could use. I'm fine with using after we get started. I mean, it isn't like this is going to happen in a vacuum. It's not $1 million commitment. We can see what the work product is. We can assess it. Everybody's happy that's asking for it, and we can go from there. I think we should be doing more of this.
I think to Grant's point, and really what we're getting at here is, when I need a medical attorney where I work, I get a medical attorney that will fight a case about a patient. When I need an employment attorney, I have an employment